I'd like to call to order our regular meeting of the School Board of Trustees of Princeton Independent School District for August 17, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. On behalf of the Princeton ISD School Board and our Superintendent, Donald McIntyre, I would like to welcome you all. The subjects to be discussed are considered upon which any formal action may be taken are listed on the agenda posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown in the meeting notice unless removed from the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. We will now move to agenda on item number 2. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Allow me a prayer real quick. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve our students, families, staff, and community. Please give us the wisdom, patience, and understanding as we make these decisions before us tonight. Help us to listen carefully, work together respectfully, and always keep the best interests of our students at the hearts of what we do. Bless our schools, our teachers, our staff, and our students. Guide us all in what we say and do. In your name we pray, amen. Move on to public comments. Any person wishing to address the board during this period is reserved for public comments at the board meeting must sign up to be heard within accordance with district policy BED local. The board is authorized to make reasonable limitations and regulations governing public comments. As such, the board will allow 3 minutes for a speaker if there are less than 10 speakers. If the number of participants exceeds 10 speakers, then each participant will receive 2 minutes to speak. The board will discuss agenda items later in the meeting during consideration. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure at the lowest possible administrative level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Each of these processes provides that if the resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal to administrative decisions to the board as properly posted agenda item. For further information on those policies, contact at the administration office at 469-952-5400 or our website at www.princetonisd.net. I believe we got Ms. Charlotte Wilson.
Good evening, board. My name is Charlotte Wilson. I live in Princeton, Texas. I want to address 2 things tonight with you guys, which is transportation and academic accountability. First, for our transportation, this happened today. My daughters have been getting to their buses early because they're scared of missing their routes, both AM and PM. I know that right now the district is running 2 routes, but when students get out of school at 3, they're waiting for their second route at 5:15, and that just seems a little silly. I understand, though, we have constraints. But today was the first time she did not make the first home run or run home because there was not enough room. There was also, from my understanding, there's no shuttle bus occurring from LHS to PHS for students who have classes at both. So that's concerning in the transportation department as well for me, as she is late to her class at PHS at times. I understand the district's making second runs, like I said, and I understand we may not just have enough buses or drivers, or probably both, and funding, but another student's parent in the neighborhood did bring her home today, but we cannot depend on that, right? We cannot depend on second runs becoming our long-term answer to a bus capacity problem. So with that said, I appreciate the students not being penalized with tardies when they arrive late in the morning, but excusing a tardy does not give them back their instructional time that they've now missed. I'm hearing similar concerns from other parents. I know they put in multiple complaints as well. So my question is not, why don't you just add another bus tomorrow? Because I am realistic. I know that can't happen. But my question is, what is the constraint? What is the plan? And what is being brought forward to the board to address this and fix it as soon as possible so students can reliably get to school on time and home at a reasonable time? And then second, I wanted to speak on the release of the new A through F accountability ratings from a few days ago, and I'm asking for very clear data tonight. Now, I don't want to just hear our district rating. I'm very proud of that B. Congratulations to all the teachers, staff, admin, students who made that happen right here. I know in the front row as well. But I want to understand what happened campus by campus. We can see which campuses improved. We can see which campuses struggled. So what we saw that improvement, what was different? What intervention, leadership strategies, what worked? Can we take that to the ones that are struggling now? Now, what are we going to put in place to support those students? And as a rapidly growing district, that we adjust attendance boundaries due to growth. I just hope this presentation will address whether changes in the student population affected year-to-year campus comparisons more than anything. Now, that's important when we look, especially south of 380 and the campuses affected by those changes. I'm not asking that to assign blame. I'm asking it because if we don't know why the numbers change, or the letter grade by itself doesn't tell us what to do next. And when we look at our supplemental instruction program that we're adding on, how are we going to measure if it's successful? What is it meant for? Are teachers on board, or is it adding more to their overfilled plate? Thank you.
Good evening, Colton Barnes here with Claycomb Architects. Construction update for August, looking first at Abbott Elementary School. Here's an updated overall building shot. You can see that sheathing and waterproofing is progressing well throughout the building. Some additional photos here, also with notes of exterior framing and sheathing complete in Area C, waterproofing and masonry following close behind on that. Interior framing is ongoing, and the roofing install has begun. Then down south to Tally Elementary, very similar. It's a little bit further ahead. It's got masonry going up in Area C. The waterproofing is mostly complete throughout the building. Interior framing and roofing install continues on this one as well. Any questions?
Are we still on schedule and on budget for both of these schools right now?
Yes. Schedule, I'd say probably a little bit ahead even. And budget-wise, we've been doing what we can to reduce costs in the middle of construction. So some changes and tweaks that we've noticed that we can make. So keeping that in mind to try to be under budget and under schedule on as well.
With some of our conversation that we've had about bond sales and everything else, we have done some value engineering on these two new campuses as they're coming, as even though our prototype schools that we've built, several of that look just like it, we have looked at ways to change some finishes, change some things here and there to reduce the cost of these buildings as well. So right now, the last reports, we're actually under budget and ahead of schedule, which is amazing on a construction project, but we are looking for ways to continue to be good stewards of the money so that we can help with future projects.
Thank you.
Yeah, and some of those items are even things that you don't see, like above ceiling and just different approaches to things that can be a little bit more cost effective and not have any real impact to the experience of the building.
I still want to build, an amazing school, but I was just curious how we were shaping up and how we were looking in regards to our budget. So I know that's going to keep coming up.
Yes. All right, thank you.
We'll go to 5B, curriculum update.
All right, so I'm pleased to share the district's 2026 accountability summary. As we mentioned at the July meeting, science scores had not been finalized by the state yet, so we have those now. In 5th grade, you can see we had a slight decline at approaches, but an increase at both meets and master's level. At 8th grade, we had a decline at approaches and meets, but an increase at master's level. And so moving into the accountability system, just a refresher on how the system works as a whole. Your score is determined based on 70% of the best of either academic performance, growth, or relative performance. And then 30% of your score comes from the domain that's called closing the gaps. That's a measure of different student groups' performance as compared to state and federal targets. So I've given you a breakdown at your place of each campus's individual ratings in each domain compared last year to this year, color-coded, Dwayne, green and red, so that it's easy to interpret. But for the overall district accountability summary, I'm pleased to say that we maintained a strong B rating, held that 81. We had a 1-point increase in student achievement. We had steady performance in academic growth and that relative performance domain, and a 3-point increase in closing the gaps. And so looking at our individual campus performance, which you have there in front of you, we had 9 out of 13 campuses that held or increased their rating. I'm very proud of Clark Middle School. They were able to match the record of an A rating with all 7 distinction designations. Smith had an increase to a high B and earned all 6 possible distinction designations. Southern increased to a high B and earned 4 distinctions. Harper scored a high B and earned 4 distinctions, and Lacey had an increase to a B with 2 distinction designations. So overall, 10 out of our 13 campuses demonstrated positive growth or strong academic performance. 3 of our campuses did decline, and 2 of those were significant declines. Those campuses are now our highest priority for the upcoming school year. Our admin team has identified focus areas for both school leadership and instructional leadership for every campus in the district, which I've also shared with you at your place. Campus principals will now take their accountability data and develop action plans around those focus areas in a way that can be consistently monitored and executed. The charge that I've given my team for this year is systems focused. Our high priority campuses from last year all demonstrated positive growth. And so we've engaged with Region 10 through the LIFT grant process to ensure that our systems guarantee that same fidelity of implementation district-wide, focused on that strong planning, observation and feedback, and then follow through. So obviously we're not where we want to be yet. Until that's an A rating, we're not where we want to be, but we are seeing movement in the right direction.
What are we doing? So, I think I'm on. Can you hear me? Yeah. So some of our lower performing had growth this year, looking at James specifically. Yeah, we're still not where we want to be with them, but they've got good growth. But then we looked at some of them who had pretty big, like they were somewhat successful campuses, had a big drop. So I want to make sure when we focus on the ones that need the growth, how are we going to capture, make sure we don't have those drops in those other campuses?
Right, and that's the charge that I've given when we talk about systems that, yes, we have our high priority campuses where we're focusing all of our attention, but we also can't afford to have declines on campuses that have had that strong performance traditionally. And so that's part of the process that we're engaged in with Region 10 so that we've got visibility into what's happening on the campus through those observation and feedback routines, making sure that we are in classrooms, that we're observing, that we're using district curriculum with fidelity, that we're following up after observations, giving feedback, everybody gets feedback in an observation. It doesn't matter whether you're the best teacher in the district or you're just starting out. There's some form of feedback that's coming through, and then we've got to close that loop to ensure that that feedback is actually being taken and put into practice.
Well, I do want to say thank you for sending over this information. I didn't have time to like really dive into it more.
And I'm sorry I didn't get it out sooner. This is the only time you're going to hear me make an excuse. They got it to us Wednesday, and I spent most of last week running from campus to campus along with Mr. McIntyre.
Only a little bit busy, you know.
In SUVs helping drive kids home. It's
Yeah,
a service we provide.
I did hear about some of that, and so thank you guys for working to remediate that. And I know that there's going to be more to come on that. So thank you for sending this, though. What I did see, one of the biggest things was the accountability ratings that was showing. I want to say it was on page 1. It shows several significant year-over-year movements. And so which campuses do you know of that experienced the most significant declines from 25 to 26? And what do you guys believe were the primary drivers? Is it the turnover? Like, do we have an idea of what might have been?
So I think the two that experienced the largest declines were Green and Low. I think one of the primary contributing factors at Green was we saw a 49% increase in student enrollment from one year to the next. Unfortunately, we also had some staffing changes a month into the school year that significantly impacted that campus. We had an assistant principal that resigned and then had to be replaced, and when we talk about being able to execute a plan that's been formulated, that gets very difficult when one of the key players in that plan leaves at that point in the year. At Low, we also had a situation where we had 11 teachers that were out on some form of extended leave throughout the year, 5 of those in our tested grades, and it's very difficult when we have that gap in instruction to come back from that. And so I think those are two of the big contributing factors on those campuses.
Okay. So understanding that, how frequently are we going to receive like progress monitoring? I know you said that you guys are going to get together and come up with an action plan. Can we expect to receive like an update quarterly? Have you guys thought through any of that just yet?
So we'll share that with our unit and 9 weeks test data.
Okay.
We'll show that progress towards goals.
I love that you guys are on it. Thank you.
Question to that, I had a question kind of regarding that. So this is the action plan you're referring? Okay.
Those are the focus plans, yeah.
Right,
Those are the areas we've identified as focus areas for the campus that they'll take their accountability data and put together an action plan around those focus items, and we'll share those as well when they're developed.
So we'll be using as far as monitoring progress, we'll be using the 9-week assessments for that? Okay, and then I did have a question regarding our special, I also didn't have much time to review, so just give me a moment. I have several questions and you cover some of them.
And I don't want you to think the presentation's over. Dr. Grubbs, Dr. Gully, and Ms. Nix also have slides that they're gonna present. So they're gonna give you the good stuff.
Gotcha.
Y'all just had to look at me for a minute.
One of the things that I did notice was the leadership turnover. There's significant numbers of new principals, APs, deans, and instructional coaches.
Yes, ma'am.
And other campuses leaders identified throughout the presentation. Is this level of leadership transition typical for Princeton ISD, or?
It's been an ongoing battle that we fight. We do have administrators that unfortunately come here and then leave for other districts in the area, and I wish I could stop them from doing that, but I can't always. And so, it's also important to understand that as we open those new campuses and as we add positions, we are moving people up from within. That also has that domino effect of requiring them to be replaced where they are. And so I think having some of those retirements, some of those promotions, there's always going to be that flux. We'll have 2 brand new campuses next year that will have to have a principal, an AP, and a dean. Hopefully those will all come internally, because we do like promoting from within people that we have a good track record and history with.
Okay, thank you. And then with so many campuses onboarding new administrators, what systems are in place to maintain consistent expectations throughout the campuses?
So we meet twice a month. Every administrator in the district is in a room together. That's where we talk through our upcoming plans. That's where we calibrate and make sure that we are ensuring consistency. And then Dr. Grubbs and Rachel can talk to you about how they monitor campuses. They're on every campus every week, doing campus walks, working specifically with principals to make sure that we are seeing that fidelity of implementation with plans. We also have our Region 10 lift coaches that will be making appearances on campuses regularly this year that will be working around that observation and feedback protocol. That's a big part of the work that we're doing with them.
And then with the growth that we're seeing, right, adding campuses, and I know we've made some changes to upper admin, do you think the current staffing model supports the need for our district?
I think it's difficult to say, because when you talk about growing by 15% a year, as soon as we get ahead, we're behind. And so when we continue that growth rate at 15% a year, and the board's made a tremendous investment adding deans at every elementary campus this year and adding the position of curriculum director, but you know, how aggressive do we want to be in trying to get ahead of growth and then being eclipsed by growth? It's until our growth stabilizes, it's going to be very difficult to say whether or not the staffing model is adequate, because we've not had time to work within the system before we outgrow it.
You know, they say that everything I learned in kindergarten. And I know that's not true, but
Was for me.
I do believe that I'm very concerned about our elementary scores. And I would like to see a huge emphasis on that, because elementary school is the foundation, and we have got to get a hold of this and make it rise quickly.
It absolutely
And
is.
so I just want to encourage you and tell you that we're here for you. If you need anything, please let us know. We want these scores to be great.
As do
And I
I.
know you do too.
As do I.
And
And that's
so,
where I've given the charge.
Please let us help you in any way.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and you did tremendously by giving me the curriculum director position. Dr. Gully has been fantastic in the 5 days? 5 weeks that she's been with us. She's done a tremendous amount of work around elementary curriculum, and I believe that that's going to have an impact, so.
Can I ask if you think there's a distinction between like the admin that we have for secondary compared to what we have for elementary? Because one of the things that I've heard from some of the staff is that we're heavier staffed at secondary as opposed to elementary, and elementary has more kids right now.
Well, and I think we've addressed that by going back and adding the dean position at elementary. So when you look at the average middle school makeup, you've got 2 assistant principals, 1 principal. At LHS and PHS, you've got 4 assistant principals, 1 principal for 1,700 kids. And then at your average elementary, where you've got 600 to 700 students, you've got an assistant principal, a dean, and a principal. So that's the move that we tried to make there in adding that position to support. Because what the feedback that we received from elementary principals was one of the largest disruptors were those in-class behaviors.
Yeah.
And that's why we added the dean position, to allow the assistant principal to be more focused on instructional leadership.
So did we decide that the dean position is going to be the same campus over campus? Because I know at one point, you know, there was discussion that we had.
Per campus and what the
Right,
campus.
what they're using it for.
So I developed, along with Ms. Nix and the elementary principals, some non-negotiables about what duties the dean would perform and what the assistant principal would perform. And then we had some, it's up to you how you want to use them in these areas. So we designated from the district level some things that this is going to be a dean duty, this is going to be an assistant principal duty, and then we left some choice in how those positions would be used.
And then I want to
Will you,
Sure.
are we going to get that? Will you share what that position, what the positions or what was decided for
Absolutely.
what the dean, so that way we have a better understanding of what they have decided to do for each campus or.
Absolutely.
And we definitely see that there's always room for growth, right? No matter what. I do see that one of the campuses, we already talked about, one of the campuses had a pretty big jump. James Elementary increased from was it 51 to 66? What were the what caused that? What, did we pinpoint what helped? Was it a certain population? Was it certain strategies that campus was using? And are we going to copycat that at other campuses?
Tightening systems and ensuring quality instruction. So for the available resources that we had, that's where our curriculum directors, our curriculum coordinators spent the majority of their time. Second semester was on that campus working with teachers to ensure that they fully understood the material. They were modeling in classrooms, and I think that's where we see or saw a lot of the growth.
And then this might be maybe a little off topic, but it does pertain to student outcomes. There was several teachers that had reached out to me about not having their curriculums in. Are those in as far as consumables? Or the resources that their students needed on the first few days? I know sometimes they're ordered and it takes time, but do all the teachers now have their social studies or whatever it is that they're expected to teach based on the lessons?
Our textbook coordinator will be at the podium in just a
Okay.
moment,
Okay, I can hold
and
that.
I will allow her to address that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Mr. Gunnels, just quick question on the two campuses we just opened. Seems been fairly consistent that our results for students is not good on a new campus, and I know part of that's the scoring and the way the matrix works on that. Is there some plan to try and is there anything we can do about it, or just be aware of it ahead of time, I guess?
Well, so the biggest thing that penalizes a new campus, and it has been adjusted for the accountability refresh that we will see going into next year. But the biggest thing, we talked about that closing the gaps, that 30% of a campus's score. And so you're awarded 1 to 4 points across all of those areas, okay? And 1 point comes from you didn't meet the target, but you showed minimal growth. 2 points comes from you didn't meet the target, but you showed acceptable growth. 3 points comes from you met the interim target, and 4 points comes from you met the long-term target. Under the current accountability system, for a brand new campus, there's no way to earn 1 or 2 points. You can only earn 3 or 4 points by hitting the interim or the long-term targets. And that's meets level performance across various demographic groups on the campus. So we actually provided quite a bit of feedback to our elected representatives along that, and I was pleased to see that that has been updated in the 2028 refresh cycle. But essentially the focus there is on meets grade level performance across all demographic groups and also on TELPAS progress. So that's something that, yes, we are aware of. Yes, it is part of the plans for those campuses, and it is something that Dr. Grubbs and Ms. Nix and Dr. Gully and I will be monitoring.
Very good. I just didn't want to not acknowledge that that's an issue.
Yeah. We really can't, but they heard us, and we appreciate that. So, all right. I'm going to let Dr. Grubbs explain the wonderful things that are distinction designations.
Good evening. These distinctions are honor awards that recognize campuses performing among the very best peers across the state. So each campus is compared to a group of 40 like schools. And a distinction is earned by performing in the top 10 within that comparison group. And so these recognitions are not simply about a single score. They highlight areas where the campus is outperforming schools statewide. So I want to start by recognizing our secondary schools. A major celebration is that every secondary school earned a distinction. That's quite an achievement. So a secondary school has 7 different categories that they can earn the distinction. Those are achievement in reading language arts, achievement in math, achievement in science, achievement in social studies, top 25% comparable academic growth, which means where the student was last year, did they grow to this year? Post-secondary readiness, which looks at, is the student set up for success in high school and life after high school? It looks at our master's performance. And then the last category is top 25% comparative closing the gaps. That's where it takes all of those subgroups, that domain 3, closing the gaps, that portion of the accountability system. A special recognition for Clark Middle School, who achieved all 7 of the distinctions and maintained their A rating. I believe Brittany Neal is here representing Clark Middle School tonight. So she knows that our expectations are high for that campus. You can't get higher than an A rating with all 7 distinctions. We also want to recognize Smith Elementary. They received all 6 distinctions. Elementary schools are not eligible for the social studies distinction because there's not a social studies test that they take in elementary school. Also want to take the opportunity to recognize Harper Elementary for achieving 4 distinctions and Lacey Elementary for 2 distinctions. Looking back at our secondary campuses, I'd like to recognize Southern and the work done in 4 distinctions. And I believe Mr. Locke is here. He is. Additionally, we have Lovelady High School that earned a distinction in English, which is quite an accomplishment. And Princeton Senior High for comparable academic growth. Congratulations to those campuses. So distinctions validate the work of our teachers. They validate the work of our campus leaders. They validate the hard work of our students who show up every day. And they validate the hard work of our coordinators and our instructional coaches. These distinctions give us an opportunity to celebrate where our campuses are leading in the state. They're the opportunity to learn from what's working and to continue championing the practices that are producing stronger outcomes for our students. So well done to all of these campuses. I'd like to move into our action plan. Move this back a little bit. And this is our curriculum and instruction foundation, our framework that we use in our 5 pillars. So the first pillar I want to talk about is purposeful curriculum and alignment. And this is when we look at the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills and those standards that we're expected to teach to ensure that our curriculum aligns to those standards and make sure that we have clarity for what's in our curriculum. We want to make sure that we're providing a robust curriculum that's required and supported. Our second pillar is instructional planning and delivery. This is the work of our instructional coaches and how they sit in professional learning communities, our PLCs, where teachers are writing lesson plans designed specifically to meet the needs of the students who are sitting in their classrooms. The third pillar that we're going to operate from in our framework is high-quality curriculum and materials management. We have a lot of work to do this year in this category because this is the work of LIFT, where we'll be looking at our high-quality instructional materials adoption process for K-5 reading and K-12 math. The fourth pillar is value-driven, data-informed. A lot of times we hear data-driven instruction, but we want to be value-driven and maintain the values that we have here in Princeton, but be data-informed as we look to improve student needs. What this is going to look like is every month we'll do performance management meetings in partnership with Region 10 and our campus leaders. We'll be looking at student outcomes and what those student outcomes compare to our learning walks that we have in the classrooms on a weekly basis. So we expect our campus administrators to be every classroom every day, is what we say. Sometimes they spend a little bit longer in some rooms, and sometimes they just get to do window walks in some classrooms. We want to make sure that those learning walks align to the student outcome. And if there's a gap, we want to close it fast. And so that we can meet our student needs. The fifth pillar is graduate success and readiness, and this is our college, career, and military readiness, so that our students can choose the pathway of choice for when they graduate from high school. Dr. Gurley is going to talk to us about student outcomes and continuous improvement.
Good evening, esteemed board, and I want to say thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about student outcomes and continuous improvement and what that looks like exactly for Princeton ISD. We are working to eliminate the gap between accountability, curriculum, classroom instruction, and student performance. Accountability results typically tell us where to investigate when we're looking at overall our curriculum and instruction. And so it identifies things like grade level, content area, campus, and even student groups. The district will then examine curriculum and assessment alignment, classroom evidence, student work, walkthrough data, and classroom assessment results to determine what type of instructional experience students should have moving forward. Our work doesn't stop at determining whether a strategy was implemented. I have now been here about 5 weeks, and in that time, we've done some really incredible work for our educators. The work has began with things like embedding the ELPs, which are the English language proficiency, I can't say that tonight, standards throughout curriculum for K through 12. We've also had our first vertical alignment meeting for the first 9 weeks with our 3rd through 8th grade teams. And we've also embedded academic vocabulary, engagement strategies, and exit tickets as part of our curriculum. And those are just a few. One of the easiest traps in any action plan for improvement is celebrating implementation, right? But the bottom line really is, did implementation improve our student outcomes? So what have we been busy doing? And what do we have to do now? We have to continue creating a greater alignment between what we expect, what we have observed, and how we support the adults in our on our campuses. We have to also ensure what learning looks like and what our students will ultimately walk out the door with every single day inside of classrooms. Our first responsibility is giving our leaders, our teachers, our deans, our instructional coaches, and everyone else the tools that they need to ensure that their success and ensure the success for our students. How have we done that so far? We, this year, made sure that we differentiated all of the training for all of our different areas for our leaders this year. We had a total of 7 differentiated trainings for our new principals, our new APs, our new deans, our instructional coaches, our principals, and our assistant principals who returned, and of course, our amazing teachers. We understand that when we train our leaders, align instruction, strengthen our PLCs, and improve classroom conditions, we all grow and are champions in this important work. But training and implementation are just some of the pieces of the puzzle. Building capacity gives us a strong foundation, and Mrs. Nitz will speak to this attribute. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to keep my executive director hat on. We'll finish this, and then I'm happy to answer your questions about textbooks. I'll switch hats then. Okay. Oh, I didn't even realize I had the clicker. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so just as Dr. Gully stated, implementation is a huge piece of the puzzle, but you can't stop there. And so if something is important to train all of our leaders on, then that means it's important enough to determine whether or not it made a difference. Is it getting us the results we want? And so this is where we are walking through and doing our observation and feedback, partnering with Region 10 and working together to build those systems that Casey Casey talked to you about. And so in order to be successful, we want our leaders to be able to observe and align. They need to be able to provide our teachers with strategic feedback and support. And then we need to revisit and then ultimately determine, did it get us the outcome we want, which is growing student achievement? Did it make our students successful? So currently where we are in the month of August, our leaders and administrators are focusing on observing and calibrating. And so what that looks like is going into classrooms together and then coming out and talking about, was that high quality instruction that we saw in that classroom? And not just does their value or does their views align as that principal and AP, but do all of our principals have the same view of excellent instruction in a classroom? We want everybody to feel confident and be on the same page of what they should be looking for and what great teaching looks like. And then they're going to start to provide that feedback. And immediately, if they need to, if we see a need, they're giving that feedback now. And then where we're going to really start to focus on feedback and support is in September. And so we're going to individualize that support for teachers. And that's why we have our teacher tiers. Just like we expect our teachers to differentiate and individualize instruction to close gaps for students, we want to do that for our teachers as well, because we believe every teacher can grow and every teacher doesn't need the same thing. And so we're going to be able to identify with our observation and feedback where our teachers need support. We're going to give them that support, but we're not just going to expect that that's what they're doing. We have to revisit and follow up and make sure that that's being implemented in the classroom. And ultimately, is it giving an impact that's growing student achievement? Because if it's not, and there's still a gap there, then that means we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out where we need to fix things. So for example, when we do our monthly performance meetings with our principals, we're going to go back and look at their classroom walkthrough data. And if it shows that, hey, we're doing some really great things in third grade math, let's say, and it's showing that they're showing strong instruction in their walkthrough, but when we look at their unit test and they did not do well, okay, well then that doesn't align. So let's go back and see, is it a curriculum change? Is it an instructional change? What do we need to see? Now, if we see strong classroom walkthroughs and instruction and great student results, then we know that that's working and we're going to stay on that path. And so the walkthrough data is going to tell us about that instruction. And so we're going to finish up with what are our main keys, where are our 3 key points that we want to look at this year. And so our work ahead is really about inspiring excellence, empowering our leaders, and achieving student growth. Inspiring excellence looks like our leaders understanding what does excellence and high quality instruction look like in the classroom. We want to train our leaders and our teachers and everyone on how things should look in the classroom so that they're confident and they know what they're looking for when they go in and observe. Empowering our leaders really just means inspecting what we expect and having our leaders do the same. And so that means we're making sure that they're going in and they're monitoring classroom, they're providing that support and feedback, they're revisiting those teachers, and then ultimately they're going to see what we're looking for last, which was achieving student growth, and it's going to lead to that, and that is our goal. So all the distinctions and the accountability that we talked about and shared tonight, that's great, but that's not our finish line. That's our starting point. And so we're going to use that along with this data, and that's why we titled this Championing the Work from Data to Impact. So we're going to take the data that we have in order to make an impact for growth.
Sorry. So when you talk about training per camp, is that going to be different per campus? Because I know the areas of focus are different, which is, I love that you guys split it into campuses to kind of see what each campus needs. So I'm going to guess each one's going to be somewhat different for campus and have different focuses. And then when we get this feedback in September, I guess that'll just be ongoing as far as the change of what you need and what's successful. So.
Correct. Our look-fors and our expectations of what we consider to be great instruction in a classroom is going to be consistent across the district, but our calibration with campuses could look very different. We go walk hand in hand with principals, with instructional coaches, with assistant principals. We calibrated today at 5 different campuses, the 3 of us together, and if principals were able, they were able to come and join in. But we really are hand in hand in this so that we can have that open dialogue so everyone understands what they need to be looking for and can feel more confident about where they need to be.
I just want to add to the question that you ask about the differentiated support for the campus. So it really starts with the principal. And for example, I'll take Clark Middle School.
Yeah.
They're an A-rated campus with 7
Right.
distinctions,
Yeah.
and they have a brand-new principal. And
Right.
so the support that she receives is going to be different than the support that Mr. Locke receives at Southern Middle School.
Right.
Right, because he has several years under his belt. And so that differentiated support comes when we're visiting our campuses on a minimum weekly basis. And then ensuring that they are developing their leadership teams, the assistant principals, the counselors, deans at elementary schools, to follow through on the consistent expectations that we have district-wide.
Yep. Because that's one of the, so Clark was amazing last year, and that's also a concern with the new change in leadership and everything. I think they're going to be successful, but with what some of the other campuses had a decline in, that's concerning to me. Like, oh, because I want them to stay where they're at, which is good.
No, we want them to improve.
Well, yeah, I agree.
We want to keep going up.
I agree. You're right.
And I think to Carlos's point, like, I'm in agreement. One of the bigger concerns for me, I have complete and utter faith in Miss Neal. I know she's going to do amazing at Clark, right? But yes, she is going to need support. One of the concerns for me is that as admin or leadership is changing, the downstream impacts of that. So I'm glad that you guys are thinking through the support that we are providing to them or that we could potentially provide to them as they are, as the admin team is changing on the different campuses, because that is a big concern. And I do like this model that you guys have come up with the champion the work. That is awesome. So when are we going to be able to get that? I'm just curious. Or are we, or no? Yeah.
The presentation?
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
No?
Oh, we didn't get it.
We didn't get
receive
this, so that's why I was asking.
This presentation, we didn't.
I'm happy to share it with
Yes, we are.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
But
We were like, oh.
They did not.
the continuous improvement cycle. But referring
Sorry.
to that,
We got you.
all of us.
We got you.
But
what we were like.
in reference to the cycle, I saw step 3 is feedback. So you mentioned that feedback will be received in September. What does that feedback look like from our staff, or how are we making sure that we're listening to, the teachers, the ones in the front lines? How often will that happen, or is the first time that will happen, will that be in September?
So not necessarily. Like I said, if we're doing walkthroughs currently and there's something that a principal or an instructional coach sees that they need to give feedback on, they're giving that now 100%. But we tasked our leaders with really focusing on calibrating and understanding and being on the same page with their leadership team in the 13 days that we have in August. And then on September 1st, we're starting on with our new ops and feedback form. And so we expect that feedback to be, if you have somebody in your classroom, you're getting feedback on that. 100%. That can look different depending on what the feedback is. It could be they go right over to you during, hey, you did a great job on this lesson. I love to see this. Or it could be a meeting. It could be a quick note. But they're going to be giving feedback and specific feedback. If you've got somebody in your classroom, you should receive feedback on what they saw.
And then in regard to the walkthroughs, you mentioned walkthrough data. What does that data look like? Is there a rubric that administrators will have with them where they're going to be collecting
Yes.
data points y'all figured out?
So we use Bambrick's research, which we reference as waterfall. And so it has two sides. One is on management and the other one is on rigor. It's really to support teachers who are new to the profession or new, right, in their career. And so most teachers can work through that waterfall document in 90 days. Additionally, with our partnership with Region 10 and LIFT, we have been able to create walkthrough forms that are by content. So specifically by reading and specifically for math. And then we took, the Region 10 provided those to us. We took the initiative and also added in science and social studies as well as fine arts and CTE with the partnership of Mr. Hackman and Mr. Stevens. And so once a teacher has worked through Waterfall, they'll begin working on content.
And then, I know kind of mentioned this earlier with Mr. Gunnels and the staffing model and whatnot. I will say one of my concerns typically always is, do we have the support? Do the teachers, do the students have the support? With you wanting, I heard that the goal is to visit each campus once a week. And I know sometimes that's not attainable because, you know, kids will be kids. But do you have the bandwidth to be able to visit all 13 campuses in 1 week? So you do go and visit every single campus? Wow, every single week.
Yes, and that's why we thank you so much that you hired Dr. Gully. But yes, like I said, we got to 5 campuses today. So it is very attainable for us.
Dr. Gully, you agree?
I'm just gonna add, thank you, she's my sister.
I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna add, that's a full load. I see it, yeah, I see it. A typical load is 6 to 9. And so you have to differentiate your support, right? And so just as we have our principals tier their teachers, we tier campuses. And so there might be some that need my support more than others. And there's sometimes that I spend more time at one campus versus another campus. At secondary, it looks a little bit different than elementary because I also have a team of instructional coaches that I'm responsible for. And so ensuring their success and making sure that we're giving principals the support that they need for the core content areas is there. And so just as Mr. Gunnels spoke earlier about are we staffed appropriately and measuring the growth and where we are and catching up, we're gonna make it this year and we're gonna be all right.
Any other questions, concerns?
And my question about the textbooks
Yes.
and consumables, it was that, not the curriculum. I mean, I have heard concerns about lessons being not completed, I guess like being done a week at a time, or not being, the teachers not being able to see them even like 2 weeks in advance. But what my original question was, the textbooks and the consumables, what students need to have in front of them.
Yes, and so we actually just finished delivering the remainder of our extra orders for 3rd through 5th grade consumables today. And so this was our final year that we completely cleaned out our extra supply, and then because of growth, we did have to order. And so those were on back order from that company, so they did come in at the end of last week. And my husband lovingly was up here until 10:30 at night with me one night, and we separated those out on pallets. And so those got delivered to campuses today. And then if you saw the boxes, K.1 just came in, and so those are going to be delivered tomorrow. Yes.
And then if, meanwhile, right, it's Monday, granted, the first 2 days is usually very routines and whatnot.
It is, yes.
Where the teachers had access, I'm assuming, right, to the digital version where they could at least print it to the printer and have that in front of them?
Yes. So even if they did not have the actual consumable, everybody had access to the digital. And the principals know, and they've done a great job of any teacher that is missing something, sending them to me. I know I got an email today that I've got to get phonics access to a newer teacher, and so that will be done before I leave tonight.
I'll own that we're still working on Spanish. I assume you were speaking about elementary, but we adopted that this summer, and so it's coming.
Muchas
I mean, I'm
gracias.
going to keep it real with you.
No, I was
I'm
not.
shooting for September 1st.
It was gen ed teachers, actually, so I was not aware of that, but thank you. But I know it takes time.
Textbooks for Spanish teachers are a luxury item.
Right.
I never had them.
We heard.
Bueno, muchas gracias por la presentación. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Excuse me, with Clark's success, and I know you spoke of leadership, is there anything besides the leadership that's causing them to have such success?
The teachers.
Yeah.
The teachers.
Teachers, yeah.
I would just say that when a campus has that much success, it takes everyone. So it starts with the teachers who are in the classroom. It starts with the students showing up every day. It also is our parents who are sending us their very best and ensuring that they get there. And that partnership between parents and families and the educators and everyone working together, right? On top of the intentional instructional coaching support, the strong systems were in place. That's what made it. And I'll also say that Ms. Haggard kept her focus. She did everything that she was asked to do. She also opened a new building this year. And so her word for the year was, in the spring semester, was no. And the reason why it was no was because if it didn't have anything to do with Clark Middle School and the success of the students that walked through that door every day, it had to wait till after school. And so that intense focus from a campus principal who partners with community and families and students day in and day out is what attributed to that success.
So we can implement that throughout other schools? Well,
Yes, sir. It's about the systems that Mr. Gunnels was talking about and the consistency of those systems. And so making sure, I call it loose and tight. We can put systems in place all day long. And it's kind of like the lanes that you have driving down the road, right? And if you can stay in the lanes, you're good. It's tight. Keep it between the lines. But sometimes, if it's loose, we might drift into other lanes. So they got to keep their systems tight. And so our goal is to put strong systems in every single school for their success, which is why during the 13 days of the month of August, we have 13 instructional days. And principals know their focus is strong, tight systems, classroom management, and calibrate with your leadership team so that we're all on the same page so they can keep those tight systems all year long. So we feel like we've had a strong start.
okay. What's the plan to ensure that it happens?
So I like to call it eyes on. So you can train, you can implement, and then you got to check and see if it's working. And so when you keep eyes on, right, the principals know I'm going to be on their campus at least one time a week. And you may or may not know if I'm coming. So that our goal is to stand in their blind spot, I'll keep my car analogy, to catch and see what they don't see so we can ensure their success.
Thank you, Ms. Grubbs. So I know we're at item number 5 of 18 items, so let's try to continue with
I have one more question now. So sorry, Carla. I think it's very important to cover this one too, because we haven't talked, wait, unless I did ask it. I don't think I did. Regarding SPED, I know how we take up some data like for our gen ed kids. Does our SPED students have a different source of data collection? I know we generally do 9 weeks, MAP, and all those things for gen, but how are we monitoring our SPED?
Yeah, great question. So most students will be using MAP data as well. We do have students who are in centralized programming, and so those that MAP data is not appropriate for, we use what's called Unique Learning System, or you may hear us say ULS, so we use that as their benchmarks. That's also used for that particular group, our teachers to use that also for TIA purposes. So it's part of the curriculum that they use in that the classrooms as well.
Thank you, Ms.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was my last question.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We will move on to back to school enrollment. I'm sure we're growing.
Yes, we are. So just looking at, instead of month to month, we've got first day of school to today. So we started school this year with 11,958 students in the district. And if you've been watching our social medias, we crossed 12,000 students on day 2. And now we are at 12,338 students in the district. So you see we grew 142 students at the high school level, 95 students at the middle school level, and 143 at the elementary level. That's what's a little bit surprising to us, is that we're seeing those high school growth still coming in. Used to, high school growth would be the smallest by far, but we are continuing to see families move into Princeton ISD with 9th through 12th graders, which is kind of a new phenomenon that we've experienced in the last 2 years. You can see there how that growth has happened across campuses from there to today. Just looking at how that compares to last year. So in August of 25, we had 11,201. Again, that's up to 12,338 now. So about 1,100 kids growth already to this point in time.
Would that be fair to say this is our struggles with busing?
This definitely is part of that problem. We had a little bit about what did we say, James, about 130 unexpected bus riders on day 1 of school. Students who did not sign up for bus services, but then after school was wanting bus services. So we've seen a big explosive growth in the number of students that are taking advantage of that. And we are down about 7 drivers right now. We have 7 open positions that the board has already approved that we have not been able to fill. And so that's also part of the problem right now, is getting enough staff on board so that we can run enough routes to get everybody home that is desiring a route from the bus now.
And how's our bus count doing?
We will be hopefully approving a budget tonight and ordering more buses tomorrow. We have about, Mr. Lovelady, about 6 buses that aren't currently running routes. That's counting 2 activity buses and 4 regular buses. And so we don't even have enough to fill all the positions if we had them, but we kind of expected that, but we intend to order new buses. We have in the budget to add up to additional 20 buses this school year for this year and next year.
And what is the ETA on that if we did order them and approve them tonight, which I'm sure is going to happen?
End of October.
Okay, so now we need drivers.
And now we need drivers. So talking to everybody online, if you have a license or would like to have a license, we will train you. Come drive a bus.
We will pay to train you.
We will pay to train you, yes. We will train you to get your license and pay you while you're training.
Were a lot of those students that decided to take the bus the first day that weren't initially signed up, were those students the new enrollees or do we know why that happened, or what we could do in the future to help with that?
We tried this year to do an online sign-up system to get parents to do that, and we've talked about that quite a bit through the enrollment process, hoping that would help us do better than what we've seen in the past. We did get a lot more, like the kids that we had that signed up through that system actually rode, versus in the past we'd have a whole bunch sign up and some of them didn't ride. So this time, doing it the new way, the kids who signed up through the online system rode, so we were right on those, so that was a lot more accurate. The problem was we still didn't get everybody to fill it out that wanted it. So we've got to find out how to do better at getting that filled out by everybody.
Do you think that's because of transitioning from the campus portal, parent portal to Parent Square, that
No,
there was a...
no. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think it's probably more than anything 15% growth in the district, and most of them are probably new to the district that just somehow missed that step in the process. But that's a complete guess.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. McIntyre, I was just going to say, one, can we also get these numbers? Because we don't have this. And I'd like to look at this a little bit further. I'm just looking
Yes, I can
at...
send it to you.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the elementary schools, and I'm looking at the numbers. Those numbers are getting up there. One school is jumping out at me. Just looking at the elementary school for Harper's enrollment here.
So that's a great point. We have actually, we're utilizing every room in Harper has a teacher in it, and every room is full of kids at Harper. We have no availability to add another classroom at Harper at all. And so we are going to be initiating something we've never had to do before, which is we will have grade levels at Harper that gets closed off to new enrollments this year. Several districts around us does this on a regular basis. We've never had to because we've always had room to expand. But with them having every classroom taken, we've got 2 grade levels already, kinder and first at Harper, that are already at capacity. And so we added a new teaching, we shifted a position from Perkins to Carroll to add another kindergarten teacher there. And we've posted a position that we had held back that we didn't have to post earlier, so still no new teaching positions from what the board approved, but shifted another position over to try to hire another first grade teacher at Carroll. Because we're gonna have students that move in throughout the year that are gonna be zoned for Harper that we're gonna have to say, I'm sorry, Harper has no available seats, and we're going to have to provide transportation and move those students over to Carroll Elementary to help fill that gap in the meantime.
Could we not have done that before school started?
If I would have known they were all coming, yeah.
Well, I mean, the numbers were kind of up there, though, like.
No, I mean, if you go back and look at the sheet, Harper is about 100, let me give you I've got this sheet up because I knew this question was coming.
I love your forethought. So awesome.
Give me 2 seconds for my little eyes to see the screen. So we'd anticipated Harper only being at 685 students. When we looked at what the demographer gave us, they told us Harper would only see 685 total students this year. As of today, they're already at 791.
So are we getting a new demographer?
So we have talked, and we have signed a new contract with the current demographer for another year, but we are also looking at bringing on a second demographer to get a second opinion. We're noticing most of the school districts that are our size or are experiencing our growth are getting a second opinion and having more than one demographer run those numbers so that we have someone to bounce those things off of and hopefully find those gaps where people missed. So when you look at our overall numbers, which I hadn't got to on the slide yet, but when we're looking at our projections right now, we're sitting about 374 under what we projected to be in by October. So our overall number is actually sitting pretty good to what we expected, but the numbers of where they fall is off. So you see Harper is 106 over what we expected, but Green, which the demographer told us was gonna blow up, the board, we tried to do forethought. We put extra portable there. We put 6 portable classrooms there to help for that this year. We thought Green was going to be the campus that was sitting there overflowing with no place to go. And so we put our resources there and tried to stack based on what the demographer told us, but it was wrong. And so just to your question on could we have done it before school, had we known, we could have, and so we're trying to respond in real life as these things come and make the best adjustments we could. We did have a discussion about we could have moved the bilingual program off of Harper again to try to save some space, but by the time I moved the entire bilingual program from Harper to another campus, one, I'm going to be moving families that we've moved multiple times, which we try not to do, but it has been a necessary evil for some, but by the time I moved all of them to Carroll, I'm just shifting where the problem is. Now Carroll's going to be over full and have a whole bunch of growth coming with the new neighborhood coming around it, which is why we have 2 more elementary schools being built right now to try to solve this problem the next year. I mean, we cannot keep up with the growth. I mean, when you talk about that we're growing 1,400 kids a year for the last 3 years and 750 of those are in elementary, we are growing an entire elementary school full of kids every year.
Yeah, that's a lot. So do we have any particular triggers that we have in place or that we're looking at future state to have in place so that we can try and, see what is going to cause us to say, okay, this campus is going to be closed to new students or new enrollments? Because I know you said just a second ago, it's going to be based off of the grade level. Like you've got a certain grade levels at that particular campus?
Yeah. And the reason that is like I said, I can't add another teacher. So on most campuses, we have empty classrooms. So,
Right.
you know, if Carol goes over and grows 20 extra kids in second grade, I can add another second grade teacher. We can hire somebody, we can put it in there, or we can shift somebody, and we can put them in a classroom and go. Harper is at the point where there's no empty classrooms, and right now, so their teachers, their staff is what they have, and there's no way to increase that. So, for instance, they have one empty seat in kindergarten, they have 0 empty seats in first, they have 6 empty seats in second, and so far. So we track it all the way down to each campus.
Per
and
classroom.
Per classroom, per grade level,
But not
and how
per
many
student.
kids are there.
Like not at the student ratio?
Yeah. No, this is at the max student ratio of 22 to a class.
Okay.
That if I had 22 in each class, Harper can take one more kindergarten, and they're going to have 22 kindergartners in every single class.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's just-
And so in K through fourth, it's 22 to 1, and in fifth grade, it's 25 to 1. And then secondary, we try to use 17 as planning, where our number usually hits somewhere around 25 to 26 by the time we take in conference periods.
You said fifth was 25 to 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is there a waiver that that you get to sign if we have to go over 22? Is that correct with TEA?
Yeah, there's a point in the year that we have to, if we're going to exceed the 22 to 1 ratio for an extended period of time, we have to fill out a waiver and sign that in with the state.
And then if we get that waiver, where does our class max at after that? Is it up to 25 or what's?
There is no max at that point, but we have never taken it past, I think the biggest was the bilingual class we had out at Mayfield. Mr. Brown, are you in the room? What did we get to, 24, 25? Is that what we got there? That was our biggest one when we couldn't find another. We were actively looking, and so we added some additional paras to that classroom to try to help handle that. But we typically don't get that to that point because, you know, like typically last year we looked at this morning, the average growth per grade level at an elementary school was 5 to 7 kids in a grade level. So if I have 7 teachers, I can get all 7 kids that grow in that grade level, and everybody only goes to 23 because I put 1 in every teacher's class. So, you know, we try our best to keep moving them around. The bigger problem comes when somebody leaves afterwards and you get one class that has a bunch of people leave out of it and they drop down to 19, but the other one's still sitting there at 23.
And then with us already, I believe there was already an RFQ put in for the demographer, and once hopefully they get hired, when do we expect that second opinion?
We have not put out the RFQ yet. We are fixing to start developing that. We just finished up with the attorney and all those, and so that's the next on the list that we will start to prepare an RFQ for a second demographer.
And do you think once that whole process is done, I know it takes a few months.
I'm hoping by the spring numbers this year, we'll be able to have a second opinion. And we're getting numbers from our demographer twice a year now, which has helped. And like I said, it's done a big help for us, especially on the overall numbers. We haven't been missing the overall number by very much at all. The problem is still just the zoning and getting in there. And part of that is the number of transfers and those kind of things that people are requesting, and the number of our staff that have kids that move. And sometimes those make drastic swings in those that, you know, if, you know, a whole bunch of the teachers at Harper have kids that come with them, that can make a big impact on the size of the campus as well that the demographer couldn't foresee.
So do we currently have like a district-wide, I guess, response plan, if you will, for our growth and like something that can help us future state, or is that something we can work on developing? Like with the growth, what is going to be our trigger? What's going to tell us, all right, this is when we can't allow any more transfers? What is going to tell us, you know, kind of help guide the situation so that we don't keep coming back here? I know we can't predict the growth, but like if we said there's so many kids that are in this grade level that are enrolled at this particular school, when we hit X number, we're going to do X, Y, Z. Like, is there a way for us to do that so that we can stay?
And that's what we do. I mean, and typically the trigger is when I hit 22 and I'm out of seats, or as I see that I get approaching, I've got my little color code that pops up on my spreadsheet, and Ms. Boitman checks and pulls numbers, and we get them in there, and we're looking at those every day, trying to see what's happening with those numbers. And as we see seats dwindle, when we get like 5 seats available or less, we're starting to look for a plan. Is there somebody to shift? Can I add a teacher to that classroom? What's going to happen? And until this year, the answer has always been, we can just add a teacher and split the kids and move. Harper is the first one that's gotten to the point where there's just no place to move.
We can't.
And full seats. We've gotten full before at some campuses where we've added and filled up the classrooms, but when we filled up the classrooms, it was enough seats to get us through the year.
Right. So now that we're closing that, the plan is that it is closed, or?
It will be closed in certain grade levels, yes, so.
But just a certain grade level?
Correct. Because if I still have empty seats there in their zone there, I'm not going to make them transfer to another campus that's not their home school. But once there's no seats, we're going to have to make an adjustment.
I know that's going to be hard for parents, but.
Yes, ma'am.
We also want to take care of our staff so that they stay with us as well.
And I think even our parents will understand when the option is, okay, I can go into this class, but if I do that, I'm going to be in a class of 24, or I can transfer to this other campus and be in a class of 17. That's definitely a better learning environment for your student.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you guys for, thinking about that and making sure that the student-teacher ratio for each class is where it needs to be, and not wanting to fill those up just to keep those students at that campus. So thank you guys.
And I know the board has
doing that.
received several questions and emails about transfers and different things. And, when you look at these numbers, you can start to see why. We have had less leeway to make decisions, and we try to do what parents would like, and we try to accommodate as much as possible. But when we start looking at those with transfers, it just got tight. Same thing with transportation. I know you've received lots of emails about, my kid lives within the 2-mile radius, but I want them to be transferred. I don't have enough capacity to transfer all the kids who are eligible bus riders right now. There's no way that we can shrink that radius from what the state defines as eligible bus riders. So, we're trying to work the best we can inside the parameters that we've been given.
The neighborhood Cypress Creek, and I don't know if there's anything that the district could do or who it falls on, but we have several kids walking on, I believe it's Old Myrick, going to Carroll. There's no sidewalks. It's not safe at all. Who can those parents contact?
There's sidewalks through that whole neighborhood.
No, I'm talking about, so going from Cypress Creek, they're going through the back. So there's, what is it, Old Myrick? Is that the street name? Yeah.
Old Myrick's the one that goes.
The one that's closed?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. But I was driving down, and there's several kids, like middle schoolers, walking, and there's no sidewalk to, I don't know the name of the street.
I believe there is still.
There may not be on the path that they've chosen, but there is a path that has sidewalks. Correct, because we made sure we built the sidewalk down the entire side of Bunchbach Middle School of our property where we could do that, so that we would connect that to the other neighborhood.
Simpson, sorry, it's Simpson, and then it connects to.
Simpson Road?
Simpson Road, yeah. Because it's right
Simpson
between
Road.
Cypress.
They should not be walking down Simpson Road.
No.
That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
If they come through the neighborhood, there is sidewalks that get over and then tie into the back road behind Bunchbach, and then there's a road beside Bunchbach that we've put a sidewalk on to get them all the way up to Carroll. And then a crosswalk that we are putting a crossing guard at to get them across to Carroll from Southern.
Yep.
Have we released a aerial map or a graphic for our parents to see for those walkers in those areas?
We have created maps that show the areas where we have crossing guards, but I can't draw a map from every single house out around.
Just like a,
From the neighborhood.
here's a recommended walk path for your.
And I just want to remind you,
I mean, those kids aren't going to take it.
just because a student lives within 2 miles, we are not saying that they should walk to school.
Right.
Okay? I am not saying that any pre-K kid should walk 1.8 miles to school. We're saying that the state determines what is an eligible bus rider that we must provide transportation to, and we do that. If you live within that 2-mile range, you are not an eligible bus rider. That does not mean that your student should walk to school. That means that it is the parent's responsibility to find a safe and reliable way to get their kids to school. So I want to clear that up. It's kind of a misconception that we're saying they should walk to school. That is not true. There's plenty of people that live within 2 miles of the school that has a kid of an age level that is not appropriate for them to walk by themselves to school. Okay?
We'll move over to item D, 5D.
Before you do, just to confirm, you are going to send us those enrollment numbers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 5D.
You have the presentation from Casey. I forwarded that to you just a second ago.
Yes, I just got it.
Election update today at 5 o'clock was the last time to file for the election in November. And so we have the following people who have filed. If you're in the room, please stand when I call your name. Cindy Darland, Starla Sharp, Charlotte Wilson, and Ricky Gillespie. We appreciate y'all volunteering to run, and thank you for your time.
Good luck to you guys. We'll move on to 5E, bond sales.
So we included in your packet the bond sale. We did have a successful bond sale, which is more than what everybody around us can say. There was some school districts that struggled to sell at the time we did. Unfortunately, we were only able to sell 60 million, and we sold that at a true interest rate of 4.9014%. And so, we were hoping to sell closer to 100 to 120 million. But unfortunately, with our capacity home values decreasing, existing home values decreasing by almost, what was the percentage? 13%. And then our new home values going up, we only realized about a 4.1% increase in our actual values this year. And so that really has hindered our capacity when it comes time to sell bonds. So I know we've had some discussion about this previously. This is going to put a big hindrance on how much money we can spend and how quickly we will be able to build high school number 2, which is our next big project. We have already sold enough bonds to pay for everything we're currently working on. So both elementaries that are currently being built now, we've already got the money in the bank to pay for all of those. But we will be needing to sell 2 more bond sales to pay for the high school construction as it comes up. So what we have done is looked for areas that we're going to have to do phases. So focusing primarily on the first phase being classroom and instructional space that must be had to teach kids and do traditional academic classrooms. And then we will phase in additional pieces of the school. And so working with Pogue and Claycomb, I know we have a meeting next week to come back and look at our options of what we can afford to build, because what we don't want to do is like some of our neighboring schools that started going through, wasn't able to sell what they thought because of capacity drops, and then they just had to stop building in the middle of a year. We definitely don't want that. So we're trying to make sure that we're being conservative and building what we know we can complete. We know we will continue to sell in the middle of that, and so we may even have a project that we've never done this before, but we might build, let's say we build the whole thing, but we leave off this portion of the building over here for whatever program it might be, but we could come back and bid that again because it's a 3-year construction project. If we were to be able to sell more bonds, then we would be able to come back and add on and build those, start them at a later time, but still have them completed by the same finish date, if that makes sense. But this is a major concern from us. I know we have met with our local legislators, and we're hoping to have the same kind of success at getting them to hear this. I know y'all have heard this many times, but where we struggle compared to a lot of people around us is we are a fast growth but low wealth school district. So we have fast growth. Last year we were the fastest growing city in the nation. We've dropped now, somebody's taken that from us, but I think we're still number 3. But at the same time, we have no industry. We don't have a lot of retail. So our values are coming from rooftops. And as we get more rooftops so that we get more tax dollars, we also get more students with those rooftops, which means we have to build some more schools. So that's the cycle we're living in right now, which we need some help.
Agreed.
It'd sure be nice if the builders, especially in the elementary schools, if they would step up and be more flexible with their, all the money they're making on their builds and maybe reduce our expenses. They're certainly impacting our community and they're not sharing in the cost to do that. So that's my soapbox.
Yeah, I want to commend, I think the city now is a little more, is assisting us in trying to get some of that from some of those new developers where historically we really didn't have too much of that. I think they're doing, I think they've got to focus to have that conversation. How can you benefit our ISD? Because it's impacting our ISD. So, and then we got the Kroger coming in, which is going to be substantial. I imagine the Home Depot come next, but.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you see a lot of the builds and developments are really going on in the county now, and so that's impacting us we have just no leverage against their building, and it's quite unfortunate that they don't see that that's part of their responsibility. And it would sure be nice if they'd either stop building or contribute to the cost of the growth. I thought I was done with my soapbox, but I can't say it enough.
That's a bigger soapbox. All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to item 5F, preliminary first rating.
So we received our preliminary first rating. You will see that there was a new indicator that has come back into play. With that new indicator that came in, it was looking at our our revenue that we projected versus our actual revenue. And so we lost some points there. And so we did receive a above standard achievement rating this year on the financial rating instead of the superior rating that we have received in the past.
So last year we had superior, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think, is that more because we were kind of conservative in the prior years?
Well, it comes down to a couple of things. Again, we receive the bulk of our money based on enrollment. And so when we enroll more kids than we expected, we generate more money than we thought we were going to generate. So over a 3-year period of time, they only give you a 10% variance on the average of the difference of that. And so over the 3 years that was being compared here, we missed that by 10.25%. So 2.25 percentage points is what knocked us out. And in that indice, it's either all the 10 points or none of the 10 points. And so we lost all 10 points because we had to be 10% or less, and we were at 10.25%. Again, it's the better side of the problem to be on, that we actually brought in more money than what we thought we were going to bring in. So it's not like we spent more money than we had. We actually brought in more money because we enrolled more students than what we thought we were going to be doing, which is one of the things that we talked about this year, being a little bit more aggressive in our estimates and, making sure that we're using that money, because this has also come down to where y'all of the board has looked at us and said, y'all told us we couldn't do that because we didn't have any money, and then we got to the end of the year and we had money. Well, that's because we got more revenue than what we expected from the state because we enrolled more kids. So we've tried to be more aggressive on that this year as well, and made sure that we supplied the things that our campuses need to be successful.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that. So I will say, not ecstatic about us going down, but I do understand it's because of this unprecedented growth. One of the questions that I had, you just kind of touched on, like, what are we changing in our forecasting process to improve the accuracy going forward?
Me and Ms. Powell have had many discussions about being a little bit more aggressive on our projections, that if we're seeing that we're consistently running between an 8 and 11% off there, then we need to be a little bit more aggressive. That we need to, maybe instead of budgeting, 96 or 94% attendance, we need to bump those numbers up. Just there's all the little things that we've built in there, and we've maybe have built too many safeguards in where we're going under the demographer's number, and we're going under what our current attendance rate is, because we never want to miss it the other way, but I think we've been so careful to not miss it the other way that we're hiding too many nuts in our hole in the tree, and
I think
we need to use some of them.
I think we discussed some of that like earlier in some meetings, and I thought before this impacted this with this rating, I think we kind of were in that direction anyway, so.
Are you referencing, Mac, are you referencing indicator 12?
Correct.
Okay. And I know for that one too, it also.
No,
takes-
10, sorry.
Is it 10?
Sorry, it's 10.
Sorry. Oh, yes, 10.
12,
You're right.
12 is the one that we've always lost those same points on.
Gotcha.
And that's our debt rating. And, you know, it's really just talking about when we have to sell bonds every single year, our debt rating never decreases, right? Because we're constantly selling more bonds, because we're constantly building more. There's absolutely nothing we can do about that as long as we continue to grow. And so those points will always be there. So that those points we lost in indicator 12, we've lost those points for as long as I can remember. The indicator 10 is the new one that came in this year. And it's been an indicator, but they haven't measured it since 1920 school year was the last year they even used that indice, and then now they've brought it back this year.
And the good thing, or referencing indicator 10, it does say it's the last 3 fiscal years, so it takes the average of the last 3. So then we have room for improvement whenever we average. It'll be
Yeah.
this academic year plus the last 2.
So I think we had like a 10.85 and then an 8 point something and then 11 point something. Well, this year that 10 something will fall off, and so we'll have the 8 and 11. And so we already have looked at last year's budget, which is the one that would count, you know, not the one we're going into, but the last year's budget. And when we look at that and we're kind of seeing the estimates, we think it's going to be more like 4% that we think that one's coming in, because we've tried to make some adjustments on this. And so if our guesses are right, from what we're seeing, from what the square ups and everything that the state have sent us, we think we'll be in good shape coming back out of next year, and we'll move back up. But
Good deal.
To your point there, is there anything else that we need to be monitoring though? Like when we're looking at the indicator on, I think it was 12, on indicator 12. I know the point deduction solely, it was a function of our growth-related debt and new facilities, but is there anything else that we should be considering or thinking through?
no, there's nothing we can do there. The only way that one's going down is if we stop selling bonds and stop building, which we all know that's not happening anytime soon. Well, it might if we run out of capacity, but.
Not only that, it's we're gonna start paying off what's
Correct.
years out. Yes. And we appreciate you and Ms. Powell for jumping on this and like going through it. So thank you for keeping us up to date on this.
I want to also say thank you. And Powell, this last week you got saved by Nicole Powell because she answered my 20 questions about the budget.
Yes.
I'm going to always have you go to her first from now on.
Ms. Powell has been,
We've been
meeting, and she's, this is definitely new to me, and I have a lot of room for learning when it comes, and I think it's important as a trustee to be as informed as I can, so she's done a good job. I always tell her, tell me, explain like I'm 5, because this is new to me, and she does. And then you cover anything else after that, so thanks both of you for taking the time to educate me.
Yep, to that point, I encourage all board members to meet. You can always meet to get some of those preliminary questions out of the way. That way, when we're here, we're not here later than we need to be. All right, well, thank you, guys. We'll move on to item number 6, consent agenda.
I don't want to poll it, but I just want to get a clarification on the hires. The DOI is the District of Innovation,
Correct.
and all the prior ones, those are all teachers that have achieved their certification. Is that what that means? It says certified now, prior DOI.
Correct. So they were DOI, but they have now completed their program, become fully certified, and now we're hiring them as an actual certified teacher.
Okay, and then the DOI, I'm sorry.
That's too far the weeds.
Just from DOI straight to, it was either a standard or intern, the majority was probably intern.
But they've got some form of actual certification now.
That answers that part of the question. So the next part was the DOI, it says superintendent hired. Those are what, are those teachers that are likely going to be certified in the next year?
They're ones that are in that same boat. They have a degree, but they are not certified, but we have them, they're either in a program or they're in an area where we have the ability to certify them under our District of Innovation plan. And so we've been doing those for a while now, and those, but we will be pushing all of them to get fully certified, because with the law changing coming, there is a point where they won't be able to be in core areas unless they get certified. So we hope that all of those end up above the line with certification soon.
Okay, thanks. Unless there was another, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
Got a motion, Mr. Kelly, second from Ms. Washington. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
And I just want to say thank you for highlighting the updates.
Can we just say thank you to you and to Amy for not only highlighting the updates, the differences between the two, but also taking notes so that we know what we've asked of you guys. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, guys. We'll move up to item number 7, 2026-2027 budget and tax rate presentation.
I accidentally closed your deal. Hold on. Sorry for that.
Okay. I'm going to take the few seconds to get prepped up here.
Okay.
Don't worry, Ms. Bell, I'm marking your time down, so you only have so much.
Curriculum got an hour.
I'd like to have a recess.
Oh, just play it, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, Board. This is our presentation for the adopted budget for the evening. So we're going to go through kind of how some of our final numbers came out with revenues and expenditures. Please remember that the law does require that the board approves what is in the general fund, what is in our 599 for bond, what is in the 240 for food service, what is in our 688 for local capital. So I'm going to definitely go through all of those like we have in June and July. But we will have to then have our public meeting, and then we can proceed from there with budget adoption as the board sees fit, and with our tax rate. Okay. So things to keep in mind, some of our revenue assumptions. First off, we've budgeted off of an ADA of 11,695. I have checked that up against what are our first couple of runs of our summary of finance from TEA from 26-27. Please remember, we're both estimating at this point, but we're running right alongside what TEA has for us. They have us at 11,600 for ADA, so I feel very comfortable with that number. Comfortably wrong in some way, shape, or form, but I am running kind of step for step with TEA at this point. And then you can see that is an increase of 1,173. We have a projected enrollment of 12,712. As you can see, we are quickly approaching that number already, and so that does make me a little bit nervous, but I also don't want to jump that enrollment number, if that makes sense. I would rather prepare us this direction in a conservative manner than try to outpace what the demographer is giving us and be wrong the other direction, okay? But aggressively trying to be conservative. So our NEFA, our new instructional facilities allotment, we do get money for students at Carroll and Bunchbach. For their first 2 years, there is some extra money that comes there because those are considered new instructional facilities. And so our projection there is just north of $1 million with our NEFA funds. So once we get all of our data for enrollment and ADA, then we need to look at our certified values. Those are our two huge keys for revenue: ADA enrollment and certified values. We ended up at about $5.8 billion in our certified taxable values once homestead exemptions and our freeze adjusted values for 65 plus, for disabled, and then military. So we ended up at a 5.09% growth. That was higher than where we were in July. We were right around 4.97 So we will take every percentage we can get, even if it is a decimal. And so that's about, I believe, a $72 million increase in our certified values. We were hoping for something a little bit bigger, but that's where we ended. Still does not affect the tax rate that I proposed in June and July at $1.2011. That has been run with a template from just several different places, but then when we submitted our survey, local property value survey to TEA, $1.2011 is also what they come up with, and so did the county appraisal district when we finished with them. Okay, so that will be the tax rate that I am recommending. Just so we are all on the same page, that is lower than the no new revenue rate and the rate to maintain. Both would be higher than what we are proposing this evening. Sorry, I'm not moving. Got it, thank you. Capital projects, just kind of re-highlight the bond sale that we talked about this evening. So Carroll and Bunchbach are finished. We have students in those. Abbott and Tally are currently under construction, set to open, fully funded, as Mr. McIntyre said, but we are planning Anthony High School, and of course, we're always looking if we can come across some land to purchase. That I don't think ever comes out of our planning process as quickly as we're growing, so that will probably remain there. All right, so let's talk general fund and 199. With the slight increase in our certified values, and then looking at some of our summer PEMS data that we reported to TEA and making some adjustments, I do show I am planning with $156.4 million in revenue is where we are planning in 199 between our local, state, and federal funds that we should have coming in. So it's $156,473,116 to be exact in the revenue. That is our projection. Comparative to where we were in July, just so we're all on that same page, that is a $2.7 million increase in revenue from July. So we did see us go up about $2.7 million based on the new certified values. In our expenditure side, the projection there is $157.2 million in expenditures. We were able to cut the deficit. We do see from July, from my presentation, there is an increase there in the expenditures, looking at some new positions for paras, crossing guards that we added. In some of these teacher shifts, it changes stipends that are available to teachers based on high needs areas. We're hiring in high needs areas. We're shifting into high needs areas. Those are, and those come with more cost for us. Looking at our full utility usage across the summer months, has me at the point where I was like, we do need to increase some of that there in our expenditure budget. We are also looking at a small increase in our SRO contract, looking at fuel cost increase with buses that we do need to purchase. Looking at a large bus purchase along with, every bus you purchase has to have a driver. Every driver has to be paid, and then there are payroll costs that go along with that. So that encompasses that about $2 million increase right there in our expenditures. Still looking at your trigger mechanisms, right? Look at Function 11. That is a trigger for 199 spending. Function 11 should be your largest percentage. And I want us somewhere between 62 and 65% is kind of ideal. And so we're still living there at that 64% for Function 11. Okay. Your next highest is your plant maintenance and operation there at 9.26%. And so those should be your two biggest. So I always want to bring us back to our trigger points there when we're looking at expenditures and how our money should be spent. So if you look at across all of our object codes, payroll should be your biggest expense as a district, somewhere between 80 and 85%. We're right there at 81 is what we're looking at for payroll, which puts us in a good place. Remember, our people are boots on the ground. They are our most valuable resource we have, so that's where the majority of our budget will be focused. So that puts us at a revenue over expenditure deficit of $768,916. Okay. When you look at the transfer to debt service that will possibly be necessary for us to continue to sell, to have the capacity to put this high school on the ground. And then you look at our daycare transfer, we are looking at about $2.8 million, which is down from about 3.4 in July. So we were able to, about a $600,000 decrease is what we're looking at from July to August in our deficit. Debt service. This is, of course, how we make our bond payments. Looking again at kind of the same revenue template that we look at for general fund. You can see we're scheduled, I am scheduling us along with our financial advisor. We're predicting about $36 million in 599 revenue. That does include some of our interest from the bank and some other things. And then we are looking at currently our expenditures at about $35.6 million. The new sale, you can see right there, bond series or bond 26 series is about I'm going to say 2.9. We're just going to round up. It's about $2.9 million of our payments that will have to go out next year. You can also see, though, we have finished or we have paid off 4 of our bonds. So bond 13 series, bond 15 series, bond 15A series, and bond 16A series are all done. We made our last payments on those already, and so we will not be paying on those again. We are still hoping and crossing our fingers for a refinance. I'm going to go ahead and reference just with our refinance this year, we were able to save about $2.5 million. I'm really hoping come November, come December, we can get kind of that same savings moving into next year. Okay. So that does run 599 itself at a surplus so far, depending on how refunding goes and if we're able to go out and sell more. Okay. And remember, 599 is that 50 cents of your tax rate. Okay, 199 is where we're looking at the 7011. Okay. Local capital, or construction, some of us call that construction, 688, it's all interchangeable. Remember, 688 does not have revenue other than interest. 688 is fully what we transfer from 199 fund balance. Okay, it's our equity. And so we're projecting about a $505,000 interest in revenue of interest. And then we're looking at, we have budgeted almost $5 million in expenditures with AC units, portables at LHS, and then all of that startup for furniture, technology that Abbott and Tally will have that we were able to pull out of our bond. And so we're not making long-term payments on things like furniture and technology, and we're able to buy us some capacity there with those items. Food service. Amber Evans does a great job when it comes to her revenue and working through this with me, understanding how federal and state guidelines work for food service. We are projecting a balanced budget in both 240 and 242 for summer nutrition and for food service. So we are projecting a balanced budget there. And so she predicts that really based off what federal rates are for free and reduced lunch, what federal rates are for paid lunches, and then based on her expenditures for payroll, contracted services, supplies, and other operating materials, she is able to project what she needs. Okay. So let's look at all funds. So this is everything. This is your general fund. This is your debt service. This is your local capital. This is your food service. And then it's every other federal or state grant that we may get as a district. So total, we're looking at bringing in what would be $207.2 million and expending $211.8 million. Now remember, 688 is in this, and 688 brings in very little revenue comparative. So that $6.6 million deficit that's there is across all of our funds, all of our grants, but the vast majority of that is gonna come out of your 688 because 688 is literally cash in the bank. It's not revenue and expenditures. Okay. So to recap, seen contracted raises, non-contracted raises, added new positions. We're opening Carroll and Bunchbach, that's in the budget. We're also starting up Abbott and Tally, that's in the budget. New buses, put that in the budget. We had our bond sale of $60 million, so that put us right at the need for 50 cents on the INS side. And then Our projected ADA is there. Again, our certified values that we got from Collin County. And then the recommended tax rate, or proposed tax rate, I should say, is $1.2011 total, with $70.11 being on the M&O side and 50 cents on the INS side. That is a decrease of about 0.6 of a penny when you look at last year's tax rate versus this year's tax rate. So it's a small decrease, but it is a decrease. So that is what I am proposing as far as budget and tax rate go.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, right now, we'll open up a public meeting to discuss the 2026-2027 budget and proposal tax rate at 8:19 p.m. If any community member wants to get up and speak or ask questions. All right, with nobody coming up to speak, we will close it at 8:20. We'll move on to item number 9, adopt the 2026-2027 budget. Any questions, concerns? There are no questions. We'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 2026-27 budget as presented.
I'll second.
Motion for Ms. Darlin, second from Ms. Ledesma. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 10, adopt ordinance setting tax rate for 2026-2027.
Well, I can say that I like that it decreased, so thank you, Ms. Powell, for putting that together. So I'll make a motion to adopt a tax rate of $1 or 1.2011. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Ms. Sharp, second from Ms. Washington. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 11, budget amendment.
Your packet, it's really a cleanup from last year's. So if you have any questions, Ms. Powell is here to answer those.
Any questions?
Can I just ask, what was the largest adjustment for the cleanup?
So I'm going to say our largest adjustment would be, when you're looking on the expenditure side, is going to be our TRS on behalf and making sure all of those different functions in 199 are within where we need them to be as far as expenditures go. But then also we did gain more revenue over the year, both on the tax side and from TEA. And so that's just kind of our best estimate. And I'm going to give a huge shout out to Megan Fine, who does a great job with this. This is what she does well.
Megan doesn't like attention, so.
You can wave at us, Megan. It's okay.
Could you stand?
That's her favorite part, is when I get to call her out in front of a bunch of people. But she does a great job with this, and this is what we hired her to do, and she does it well. So, but yeah, that was our biggest, I would say, just kind of moving that money within the expenditures, not expending any more, just shifting it within the functions to make sure we're covered across all functions.
Thank you, ma'am. Any motions?
Make a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
I'll second.
I got a motion from Ms. Sharp, second from Ms. Washington. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 12, discuss and provide guidance on student technology use.
I requested this because I believe that children's heavy reliance on screen use has raised serious public health issues. It might harm their cognitive, linguistic, and social emotional growth. Excessive screen use has also been shown to be detrimental on social and emotional growth, including a rise in the likelihood of obesity, sleep disorders, mental health, and conditions including depression and anxiety. There is a movement by Governor Abbott next year to limit screen usage in the schools. We've always been ahead of that. With safety, we had the marshals first before they came out and said something. We've stayed ahead with the phone usage. We got rid of the phones a year before they requested that. I believe that it's important for us to keep technology in the classroom, but I believe it's also important that we limit that and we allow the students to read out of books and write on paper and use their brains. And so I would like to do something like limit the amount that we use screens in the classroom, something like this. I'm not hard and fast on this. 1st through 4th grade, 20 minutes a day. 5th through 6th, 30 minutes a day. And 7th through 12th, 20 minutes in each class period. I do walkthroughs at the schools, and I was appalled.
Can you read those one more time for me, please?
Sure. I should say kindergarten. 20 minutes a day for kindergarten through 4th. 30 minutes a day for 5th through 6th graders. And 20 minutes each class period for 7th through 12th grade. If you want to, all you have to do is Google this, and there are so many studies on this that you can go to. They do say that screen time is important for the students to learn, but tech education is not the same as education from technology. They're two different things. One parent this year told me that she didn't even buy pencils and paper because they're not required to have them in our school district. And that was appalling. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's what she said. I do know that we've moved from spelling tests on the computer to spelling tests on paper. Thank you very much for listening to that request. A lot of parents were surveyed in different areas. 84% of the parents in this one survey thought that in schools, screen time was used too much, and 16% disagreed and said it was the right amount. I do believe this is a movement from our parents, from our teachers, from everybody that wants to see us go back. See, our results of 50% of approaching or meets, that's not good enough. And Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I know we're changing things, and I know you've worked really hard. I think this is one more thing we have to change. We have to get back to really educating our kids using pencil, paper, and textbooks. There's so much information on this. I don't want to spend an hour doing this, but I do have that much information to share with you if you want to see it. My degree is in health, PE, biology, foreign language, and music, and I know how to scientifically look at the data and see what is there. And it just all points to the fact that we need to somehow manage and limit our technology in our schools so our children can learn more efficiently. And I'm asking you to please consider doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Arlen. All right, anybody else?
I definitely understand where Ms. Darlin is coming from in regards to her concerns around the amount of time that our students may be spending on their devices. And I think that that's something we should all be paying attention to. But at the same time, I don't want us to overcorrect and move completely away from technology, altogether. Like I hear the numbers that she's saying, and I I don't have the answers, so let me start there. But I do want to be cognizant and realistic to the fact that our kids are testing on computers, right? And they're testing starting in the 3rd grade on computers, so they have to know how to navigate, maneuver, and be able to, you know, be ready for that. I think technology is part of how our students learn. It's not going away. Like, if we try and move completely away from technology, it's going to take us backwards. But I don't have that fine line, because I do agree that we should probably not spend as much, but I would have to have more data in front of me to be able to speak on, like, which way we need to go.
I would
for
be
all that.
happy to table this.
Yeah.
So that we can look at it.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it up tonight. I'm not expecting a definitive answer. I just wanted to bring it up as a concern that I have. And for all of y'all to look at, and please, please do your research and see what you can find on this. I do believe to be responsible, we need to limit the technology. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying let's limit it so that we have a good balance. I've done walkthroughs at the high school. One day I went to Lovelady, and out of the whole wing of all of the classrooms, there was one teacher up teaching, and everybody else was on their computer or talking in the classroom. That is not okay. I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, but that is not okay. We have got to be actively teaching and actively supervising when we're not. The teachers can't be at their computer doing things. They have to be walking around and making sure that the students are doing what they're supposed to do. On the limited time, they're supposed to be on the computer. Learning with technology is different from learning from technology.
So do you think it would be appropriate then if I charge the curriculum department to go back and we'll do an audit of looking at our current lesson plans and trying to come up to the amount of time that our current plans are calling for students to be on devices, bring that information back, and we can look at that as a starting point on what we believe is currently happening and then adjust from there?
I would love that. Thank you so much
Yep.
for offering.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be different from when we talk about high school. I think you'd be surprised what the use of technology in college might be. So I think that transition is going to be a little different than elementary, but it's something to be
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry, I'm
go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt. Finish your thought.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I agree in to a certain extent. And I think when I talked to Mr. McIntyre about this, you know, I will say that when our students decide to go to college, if they go to college, or, you know, get into the workforce or whatever, a lot of it's all technology-based, all of it. And so do I agree that maybe we do need to limit some technology in the classrooms? But for me, when I am hiring new employees, I struggle with it because of the limited use of technology that some applicants have had, because in our office, everything is done on the computer. And my son that just graduated, to give a quick example so we can move on, I decided to hire him to do some work for me. And it was just simple data entry. He didn't know what data entry meant. So I said, okay, here's what I need you to do. It took me 5 minutes to tell him what he needed to do from a Google Drive and putting stuff in and entering it in, and he finished it in about 10 to 12 hours, which would have taken my employees in the office a whole week to do. Just because I didn't have to sit there and watch. And it's just, he was a lot quicker with it based off of his experience with using the technology and the things that we needed. So I think there's a balance that we can come up with.
We've got to strike that balance.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying we have to strike a balance, and we have to make sure that we are allowing that, because there is proof that there's increased screen time is associated with lower academic performance. So that means that if you go too much screen time you're going to lower the academic
Yeah,
performance.
there's a balance.
So I don't know where the balance is either, but I'm just saying that we need to look at it as a board. This is our responsibility to our kids.
Gotcha.
Now, off topic, if we do want to look at something real quick, because I did tell Mr. McIntyre this, we need to teach our kids cursive again, because these kids don't know how to sign their names, and it's awful.
It is a third grade TEAG, is it not?
It is a TEAG that we are teaching.
So they are being taught in third grade. It just stops after third.
Look,
1 year of.
my 18-year-old does not know how to write in cursive, and his signature is horrendous.
Okay.
But back on topic, Cindy, I do appreciate you bringing this up. I do think that there should be a balance in technology. And I know you already addressed that you don't want to just get rid of it, and I definitely don't want that. Mac, I appreciate you bringing up an audit. I think that's a great first step. I don't want to make, and I don't think any of us here want to make any drastic change tonight or soon, but whatever way we go as a board, I want to make sure we get feedback from staff always. I know the research. I know I practice certain things at home with my children. I know school is different. And, you know, high school and elementary is very, you know, different. So I think just whenever we get that information and we start making a plan, if we get to that point, I want to make sure that we hear from our staff and we hopefully don't do concrete blocks of minute, right? Like not 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I think the staff needs to have flexibility to that, and their needs are just different. But I do think it's a valid concern. I think that we do need a balance in.
We need to have a good flow.
Yep.
Yeah. So
It needs to make sense.
Mac,
I'm
how,
excited to get this audit information and.
Yeah.
how long would you need, or when would you?
We can probably have something as an information item next month, when we believe.
And I don't even know that this is really an issue. I think it's just something to have a mindset to make sure we're not bad. But whatever parent doesn't have pens and pencils, can we identify them, get them some pens and pencils maybe?
Well, I know that we haven't arrived yet, and there
I
are
know.
lots of different things that we can do to increase our scores and increase our learning.
Gotcha.
And I'm all about looking at the possibilities and see what we can do.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 13, nominations for TASB Delegate Assembly.
So the TASB Delegate Assembly for 2026 will be held on October 9th. And so I know we have talked and showed some interest. And so if the board would like, or if anybody's interested in going and being at the Delegate Assembly, we would need to name one official voting delegate and one alternate delegate for the assembly.
I'd like to go as an alternate.
I'd like to go as the delegate.
I'm also interested in going as an alternate.
And I'm interested in going as a delegate.
No, I did not want to go as an alternate or a delegate,
Oh.
but I did want to recommend that Cindy go as the official voting delegate, and then between you two, I don't really, whatever, Bianca, go as the alternate delegate to the assembly. I think that's my recommendation and motion, I guess.
Okay, I got a motion.
So he's got to finish the motion.
He just-
Let me finish it then. I recommend that the Board of Trustees name Cindy Darlin as the official voting delegate and Bianca Washington as the alternate to the 2026 TASB Delegate Assembly.
Got a motion from Mr. Kelly. Second from Mr. Campbell. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Hold on, who? Four? Okay. Opposed? Two. Motion passes 4-2.
Abstention.
Did you abstain? Did you abstain? That's what I'm asking. Okay.
Is it an option to set a third, or is it this type of thing, just one alternate?
Because there were more that were interested.
Yeah, because I thought it would have been better the two delegates that wanted to
Well,
go
there's also
would have been a better,
the whole conference
at
too.
least, to have you as an alternate.
But it's also a conference as well. So there's,
It's a whole conference.
yeah.
But this is just for
Yeah.
voting member and a delegate. or
I
in a-
just want to say something. I'm really proud of our board because I remember a time when we had to beg somebody to go. And to have 4 of us be willing to go, just kudos, y'all.
Okay. All right, do we need anything else on that one? If we've got 2 other alternates, I don't know how that works.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, I think this goes back to our earlier conversation of having some sort of controls and things put in place for board training, and how often and how much are we going to spend to send multiple people to multiple trainings per year. And I think that we have guidelines, but this board doesn't seem to be happy with those, and I think that's going to be a bigger discussion, because this is what TASB asked for as far as delegate, is 1 voting member and 1 alternate.
Okay.
So we're, but that's
Share
for
a
the,
room and say,
but Mac, just to that point, I do think that we need to discuss that, right? And I think the next thing is for us to talk about board training opportunities.
Yep.
So you want to?
We can go ahead and continue from that, and then board training, yeah. All right, we'll move on to item number 14, discuss board training opportunities.
So I was asked to get some information from Lone Star Governance, and so in your packet, I included their proposal for training. Just put that out there, but also just wanting to remind of the other options we have for board trainings through Region 10, the TASBs, and the other online trainings that are out there. So I know there was some specified training that we were looking to accomplish, and so that's what we kind of was focused on with Lone Star Governance, on how to maybe help us develop a tool for board evaluations and superintendent evaluations and roles and responsibilities. And so that's kind of what they focused their presentation on, their proposal on, sorry, excuse me. So those are the options that are there as far as that goes. We also have for you at your place, there was with the new Senate bill, new training that came out for parental rights. And so you have a flyer for that at your desk. That has to be completed by all board members prior to September 1st. I believe you've also received that information in an email. So I know Carlos has already completed his, so good job, Carlos. I think you get a prize for being the first one done.
we still need our team of 8 training too, don't we?
We do.
We do.
Which is what the discussion on this was, because if we did the training that we looked at Lone Star Governance and we can get everybody to show up to the meeting, that could count as our team of 8 training.
Okay.
And that's whether we do it with them, with TASB, because TASB has a piece for that as well, and so does Region 10. So you have options, and so I think it's whatever we want to do for that. And then I think this does open us up to that bigger discussion about, how do we want to manage, board training requirements and limitations, for the lack of a better word, to make sure we're being good stewards of the taxpayer money as well.
I think that's a valid concern, because I think when it comes to training, a lot of those are online. You can get them from Region 10, TA, TASB. But we've got to make sure every time that we've got one we want to go to, if it's not, make sure it's not offered online, where we can be, efficient with the money. Because sometimes those financial trips can really get out of hand if we do too many of them.
And we have budgeted for each board member to be able to attend 1 overnight conference a year. That's been the standard that the district has done for a long time. And again, I'm not saying that means it has to be the way it stays.
Right.
I'm just saying that's the way we've budgeted funds, is for 1 overnight large conference for board members, with all other trainings happening either locally as a day trip that you can go to Region 10 or one of the local things that's around here, or online trainings. And we believe it is perfectly easy for board members to receive all of the required trainings or wanted trainings through those methods.
I don't think anybody is arguing that. I think we're all taking the online option when possible. I think that there is bigger conferences that I think are really, really important. You know, we've talked about adding parameters, right, to overnight stays or things that are a few days. I know that we've talked about once we get the board attorney to update the board procedures regarding the one in Houston. I don't know what the timeline looks like, if we can get that in on time, but I think it is a good problem to have, like Cindy said, to, if you have trustees that want to learn and bring that back to Princeton ISD, I think that is being good stewards of our money. I think it's a good problem to have. I think the more informed that we are, the more we get to network with other trustees and other districts, we bring that back, and, you know, we all want the same thing. So I guess I understand that there is an issue around this. I just, the process for this.
I don't understand the issue, though, when you're saying it's an issue, Sonia. I don't know that I would be.
I would say the issue with some people.
I think it's a concern.
I think where he's going is that he just wants to have parameters for what it is that we're doing so that they can budget accordingly. Am I correct in that?
Well, yes, and I do think that we need to be reasonable. I don't think that it is appropriate for a board member to spend multiple tens of thousands of dollars going to training when there's opportunities to do that elsewhere.
I don't think any board member has spent.
No, we haven't. No.
I don't think that would be a
Okay.
fair statement to make.
It's not.
So when we went,
Let's do it.
we went to training this year, and with the changes this board made that you voted through, we spent an additional $2,000 on sending board members to training this year compared to any year we've ever done before. And when you add that on top of the other expenses, if every board member here goes to a second one, we are at over $10,000 in board training if everybody went to a second overnight conference.
But not everyone is trying to go.
Correct.
I think
I never said that. I'm just saying that I think it's very important to have safeguards in place, just like we do for our employees, to make sure nobody, this board or future boards, gets carried away going and spending money for things that can be obtained locally.
But to your point, you said things that could be obtained locally, right? So for this delegate assembly that's happening, there's a whole conference that goes on there, right? There's information that's discussed. I understand your concerns, and I 100% agree that we should have parameters in place and we should discuss what that's going to look like. But just because we've always done, you can only do one overnight trip in the past, does not mean that should be what we're gonna do moving forward. Hence the reason I've said we need to actually put whatever it is that we're gonna do in our board operating procedures and say this is what it's going to be. We haven't did that. So I'm still not following how we are out of line
No, we haven't done that.
at this point.
But, and my biggest, it's a concern, is that we're a very, like, we're looking at building the new high school. We're cutting a lot of things that we want because we can't afford it. We're building schools everywhere, and we got to be, so it feels, so that's when I want to put the whole on us being able to just do a lot of these trainings. But if it's reasonable and if it's accepted, like delegates, if we decide as a board we want to send 2 people, that's understandable because we've voted to do that, right? So, but it's just, my concern is if not necessarily this board, but any future board for the next couple of years that we're still growing, that we don't let somebody put things where we let somebody take advantage of those situations.
That's the purpose behind updating the board procedure.
Agreed.
I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying at all. I just don't want to make an issue of what's not an issue. I hear a lot of fear behind this conversation, and I think the additional people that want to go, they're coming from a good place. It's not to go spend and blow all of our money. We are completely aware of the budget. We know what we're building. It's an investment. We're talking about, when you add the numbers, you're talking about $1 million when it comes to building a school. I'm talking about a training that I can't get here in Princeton ISD. I don't think I'm asking for anything unreasonable, and I keep hearing the word unreasonable. It's not unreasonable for me to want to be the best trustee that I can for this entire community, for over 12,000 students that we have. I don't think that's unreasonable.
It's continuing to grow.
Okay.
I like your word investment. It is an investment into the future. And we do need to know what we're doing. And I do believe that we can do a lot of that online, but there are certain things that we can't. We have to be there to vote for the board of TASB if we're a part of that. So that's not an option. We need to be there.
But how many people are allowed to be on the floor to vote, Cindy?
Well,
Only
there's
those
going to
two.
be two. There's
No,
going to be
but how many people are allowed to be on the floor to vote?
one person will vote,
Okay,
and then the other person will be in the wings.
correct.
But
No,
hold
but
on.
I think.
Wait, let's
I
be
think-
clear, because that changed.
Yes, we understand that. We understand that that's what we just voted on for the delegates. The other part of this discussion is about the training aspect of it. There is also a conference that's going on. I, for one, okay, I learn better if I am here in a room full of people, there's a presentation. I have ADD, okay? I do trainings online, but I don't do them all the time because I learn better in a classroom setting. That is how I have become a better trustee, to be able to sit up here and do the job that I was elected to do. I don't have the background in education like everybody else does. So in order for me to be able to do the best job that I possibly can, I need to have training on it.
And collaboration is
And,
important.
and not to mention the several different sessions at these conferences, which SLI this past June was the very first one that I went to. I learned a lot because there was so much stuff going on. There's going to be similar sessions at this next one. I understand that, but that means, you know what? I can mark that off the list and say, I went to that one already. I'm going to go to the ones that I really wanted to go to that were at the same time that the ones I went to in June. So
I understand
To
all
go
the
to
points
a-
you're
to
making.
go to at
I
least-
just want the board to adopt some sort of guidelines to follow so that there's a standard and a way for us to have some controls and some accountability for how we're spending those funds. That's all I'm asking.
Yep, and I think we're getting in that direction, trying to get our board attorney and some of the training that specifically we want to discuss is that one from Lone Star Governance, I think. So
Can I just say in regards to that one in particular, I am not a fan of us going through the big thing that they provided because that
The
was
full year
ask, that full
upper-
year.
yeah.
Our ask was for this single session, and I am in favor of us moving forward with this one particular session that focuses on the 3 hours of training to do the board superintendent, the board evaluation and superintendent evaluation, and then the third one was roles and responsibility.
Yep.
I am in favor.
and
like
that would
that one.
satisfy our Team of 8 training as
If
well.
all of us can go, that would satisfy the team of 8.
So with that being said,
Before we go,
Go ahead.
there was some discussion a while ago about our next team of 8 going through the board policy book, just us going through that.
Well, that's why we were trying to get the board attorney on, so that we can have them available as well for that.
Yeah, and I could see that as a benefit there. What I don't really want to spend a lot of time on board evaluation and procedures for that, because I don't think that is critical as maybe getting through that handbook that we've talked about since I got on the board.
But we did just go through the handbook with the last board attorney last summer, correct?
Oh, okay,
Or-
well, I'd understood
Is
that
that
we
right?
wanted to review that.
What, well, I mean, we had Tim Davis out and we sat in the room and went through the whole packet. I mean, I understand we want to do it again. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, You said since you got on the board, we just did that in the last 12 months.
My mistake, I did not realize we went through that whole book. I thought we just picked some items on it and
Yeah, we went
and
through
talked
the whole
about.
thing.
But, so what they're bringing to the table, I'm okay with them doing a presentation and doing training, good with that. I'm not sure I want to spend 3 hours of my day going through how the board should evaluate itself and maybe how we need to evaluate the superintendent, because I don't think we're that far off in that. So I would just rather spend more time on things that I think are.
Which would be what?
Well, we have not evaluated ourselves.
No, I think
And I think that that would be very beneficial for us to go through that type of training, because it has not been done.
Or what we should be looking at and what, versus what we are. Because I think all of us are all of us have different ways of looking at evaluations, right? Like, I'm looking for certain things whenever we're doing a superintendent evaluation. You guys are looking at something different. But when we do our evaluation of us as a board and like how we're operating, I don't know that I know exactly what I should be looking at with that. Whereas if they were to come in and talk to us, like, these are the things you should solely be focused on. Don't worry about this, but focus on this. I think that would help kind of give us the parameters, if you will.
And I think the way they do it, I think, is specific to your board. What's important to you guys. And so I get what you're saying, but I think it'd be a good thing to re-understand what our self-evaluation should be more, and how strict, because I don't think sometimes I don't think that's where a lot, us in general, people in general, are harder to do that self-evaluation without some bias, because we want to say we're doing great, but I don't know that it's always the case. And I think to have those same parameters for a superintendent would be, at the very least, to check it off. It's like, oh, either we are doing it right, or we need to adjust it to make sure we're doing it better. So.
And I'm open to, I mean, if the
Yeah.
board wants to go there, I'm open to that, I'll support it. But it's more a matter, I just felt that, our time spent should be very productive.
Is there something else that you would have liked for them to have focused on? Roles and responsibilities?
Yep.
Well,
I think that's-
that training would satisfy our team of 8 training that we have to do, so you would still be required for that 3 hours.
Thanks for pointing that out, Bianca.
All right. Do I got a motion?
Can I get a hall pass?
No.
I'll make a motion for us to go with that one single session.
The option A.
Option A that they had in the book.
Got a motion from Ms. Sharp,
I'll second.
second from Ms. Washington.
Clarification, option A is the $3,000.
Yeah, the $3,000
Yes,
one, just the one. I mean, I like all the other options that they're saying, but I don't know that we have to necessarily go through them for
And just to
those.
clarify, they gave the price for doing all of them. We can always à la carte any of them that you wanted. So if there was something else you could pick, you could find a timeline to do those and add whatever other one you wanted at the individual cost.
That's why I was asking Dwayne if there was another one that was more of interest.
There would be, but
We-
because I have to attend all 3 hours, I'll have.
Well, I'm only asking because we had asked Mr. McIntyre for him to give us a list of options, right?
Very good.
I think this would be good for now, to see if it's someone we want to continue to build that relationship with, and we like what he's doing. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Do we need to make a decision or vote on attending the conference in October for those that want to attend it? And as us being delegates, would we be able to attend that conference? Or is it just for us to go as a delegate for the session for that?
I thought we were going to see about putting something in writing for all those, but I don't know that that's going to be
What is the
before.
timeline for-
Yeah.
That's the catch.
Well, there's early registration, and early registration is $490 per person to attend the conference. So if you wait, then that price does go up, because I did look into that already.
So it's for 500 plus.
I think the motion was 2 people going. And
Yeah.
I think
That
we
was
ought to
for
leave it
the
at that for
delegate
now.
assembly. We're talking
Yeah.
about the training itself, because there's a whole conference going on. It's not just the delegate assembly.
And I don't want to run out of time and me have a chance to go, and because it's not in the board procedures, I may not get to go. Does that make sense?
You may not be able to go this year.
I want to go this year, though.
Yeah. It would be, I would like to see what the cost per person would be, but I don't,
Can you do that, Mr. McIntyre?
$490 for early registration.
you can sleep in your car.
Registration, but like, I'm trying to see, how much would it be for
Bianca-
us? Because he said it's tens of thousands, so I
Yeah.
just want to be clear on that.
Bianca said she'd sleep in her car.
Like staying, mileage,
I
all
have
that good
family in
stuff.
Houston, I'll stay in.
I have family in Houston too, if I
I do
have
too.
to, if that's an issue. So you don't have to
Well,
pay
we
for
can't
my
just
hotel if that's the
perfectly
problem.
say yes and without knowing what the cost of it is.
Well, and you guys
Seems
can use
silly.
a vehicle from the carpool.
But
I will be using a vehicle
and unless
to
you
go
have
down there.
disability,
I will be using a vehicle, so you
Right.
don't have to worry about that.
can we, if we table, well,
Can't table, that's what we're getting at, girls. We gotta,
are we meeting again?
not before the early.
Early registration for the conference is July 21st through September 15th to make that decision.
We're meeting again next week, or is it this week?
For the
board
interviews?
attorney review?
27th.
Next Thursday.
Thursday.
Could we add it to that agenda?
There's not much time.
No, I know.
I mean, we have 4 interviews that night set for an hour allotted for each interview, so we're 6:30 to 10:30 right now. So
Why don't we maybe put in our thoughts and send them into MAC, and then maybe that'll come up with a, like a budget and
And make-
acceptable for car use, things like that, and send those in, and then MAC can spin that back around to us.
Could we make a proposed amendment to the board operating procedures, since that's what he's ultimately asking us for? If we're gonna do it, like, say we do 2 trainings, up to 2 overnight trainings per year, for a total of whatever, like, can we do something like that and send that over to him?
I think we just need to worry about this conference to see if we can make it, if y'all want to go, to make it to this conference, and let's worry
I
about
mean, do you have an
that.
idea about what
for-
those rooms were per night? I mean, is that kind of what you're asking, is what a cost
Yeah.
per person is?
Yeah.
To what were they about? Do you remember per night on the last one? Ms. Fine, can you grab those for me? Do you have an ability? Can we take a 5-minute break and use the restroom and come right back? Yep.
I did look up the hotel information too, so I have that number for you as well.
I'll stay in attendance.
11.
We convene at 9:11. Continue discussions. I think we got some numbers now.
Yeah, so me and Bianca just did some quick math, looking at the rooms that are on the hotel room, and then, so about $800 for a room. If we have to pay mileage for somebody to go, it'd be around $400 in mileage. Meals would be about $150, and the conference $490. So somewhere around the neighborhood of $1,840 per board member to go to that training.
I would suggest, when it comes to being reimbursed for mileage, that maybe just be reimbursed for your gas expenses rather than being reimbursed for mileage, which would be cheaper.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And what was the mileage, or what was the total for mileage?
400 was roughly what the mileage would be for a trip to Houston and back.
As
So it's about-
opposed to like $150.
Yeah,
Let's
to
say
drive-
$200.
To drive from here to there
So
and
it's,
back.
let's say roughly.
Versus, remember, we still could take a school car and carpool, and it'd be even less.
Yeah.
Could we take 2 school cars?
I
Depending
mean, we've
upon
got
time?
4 of us, 4 of y'all. Do we need 2, like,
Depending on the time, that's a long trip. I heart you, Dwayne, but I like mine.
it would just be.
I'm taking a school vehicle, so whoever would like to come in the
Ride
school
with
vehicle
you.
with me when, at the time that I leave,
I was just
You
about
are
to
more
say,
than
that's the
welcome.
catch, is what time are you leaving?
Maybe that's something you just got to coordinate. We'll just do one school bus, or one school bus.
Two school vehicles that we could do.
But you keep in mind, if you take school vehicles from here, there might be, we're in school now, so those vehicles get used here, so they might be needed. Yeah, so to have 2 people per school vehicle might be
Yeah,
letting
my only
excess.
concern is my work schedule, and so trying to go around that, like, I'd have to leave at night in order to go.
So what Mac is asking for is a decision on what we're going to do on this meeting that we have Cindy and Bianca going to, and maybe someone else? I don't know
Yes,
who
Sonia and I were also expressing interest when you made your motion.
So my recommendation, in not knowing exactly, I didn't have that math in my head here, but is that we just set a budget for this one and say, that's what it is, anything else is on you, and then we go from there. I think you have an estimated of what, Mac, if we're paying gas?
I don't know the gas. I didn't do gas. I'm sorry. I didn't calculate gas. I did mileage.
So if you do gas for about $200, it's going to be about $1640.
Correct.
So, any motions?
I'll make a motion for us, for the 4 of us to attend the
Well, no,
conference.
it's just 2, because the other 2 have already been,
I know, but that's just for the delegate assembly, that's not for the conference itself. 2 different things.
I know, but is there another, for the 2 that we've already voted to go, is there another price that's going to be, this would be for the additional 2?
No, it's for the 4, because the 2 of them going for the delegate assembly is one thing, and that's not included with the conference. That's just delegate assembly, which will be that day.
In the
Right.
past, the people that went to the delegate assembly, if they chose to stay for the whole conference, we got them rooms and stuff for the whole conference.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying we don't need to vote on that, so it would just be for the 2? Okay, so then I'll make.
Or for whoever else wants to
Anyone
go.
else interested? Let's start there. Are you interested in going to the conference?
well,
attend the
it says,
Well,
it says on here that there's no cost to attend the delegate assembly. So I'm assuming and then lunch is provided for the delegates and alternates. So I don't know if that would also include your
but we've already,
registration for the conference.
No, it doesn't. The registration for the conference is additional. That's for the people that are local. They could just show up and go to the delegate assembly.
So then what we need to make a motion for is for 4 people to go to the conference.
I
Unless,
think
Cindy, you don't wanna-
you have to make a motion for additional personnel that wants to go
Here's
to
my,
approve it at a certain number per person, I would say.
my challenge on this is we're gonna pay for training coming up for this board training at $3,000. We're gonna spend another about $3,000 for 2 board members additional to go to additional training. I really question whether that's wise for us. It looks like we're wasting money to me. I understand sending the delegates and having them go to the conference if that's what they're doing, but I would say let's work out what the parameters are gonna be before we send anybody else to anything. And whether that's a budget with clear direction and not have you guys go as additional folks to a conference, because you were just at a conference. And I think one's pretty good, and we're gonna be doing training another $3,000, so.
But that's a different kind of training that you'd receive at the conference.
I agree. It is different, but you just got back from a training. So that's my 10 cents.
Entertain a motion?
Still trying to figure out if we have to do it for 2 or 4.
I think the two are already covered.
So then I'll make a motion for the 4 of us, however their budget looks, to be able to attend the conference.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Ms. Sharp, second from Ms. Ledesma. Discussion?
So we're talking about adding 2 people, not the 4 of them. It's adding 2 more to the other 2 that are going.
But she's just making sure that it's clear
But I'm
that
just making
4
sure it
people are
covers the
going
board.
to the conference because 4 people are interested.
Just trying to make sure that was.
But there needs to be a dollar amount parameter.
The motion's already, unless you want to.
Oh, well,
Can I amend the motion to the dollar amount parameter of, oh, is it 1,600?
Per
What's the
person?
number?
1640 to 18.
Mr. McIntyre?
Yeah, it was $18.40 if you remove the mileage and say $200 in gas, then it's $16.40.
To 1,640
Per person, or
per person.
it's like 6,400? 6,500 and.
$6,560.
Gonna call for a vote?
All those in favor, raise your hand. All those in favor, raise your hand. 3, 4. All those opposed? 4 to 3, motion passes. All right. We'll move on to item 15, good resolution declaration of good cause exemption under House Bill 3 regarding armed security officers on each district campus.
So this is a tricky one, so just make sure everybody understands the parameters here. It just seems kind of weird. House Bill 3 regards armed security on every campus in the district. They point out that the intent was for that to be actual police officers through your local police department. Princeton PD cannot supply enough armed security guards to do that. They're in a hiring problem just like we are, and so trying to get that accomplished is a hurdle that we have not been able to jump. So they have another method, which is the Marshall program, which is the program we've been on forever. And so it is an accepted method, but it just requires action of the board to say that we're going to use marshals as our armed security on every campus. So we have at least one armed security on every campus. Some of them have an SRO and a marshal, so that's why I say at least one. But we just have to approve this good cause exemption every year and sign it.
I'll make a motion to approve a good cause resolution that states we are meeting the requirement of HB 3 by having a school marshal on each campus.
And I would like to second that.
Motion from Mr. Kelly, huh? Second from Ms. Darling. All those in favor, raise your hand. John, you, okay. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 16, authorization of school marshals.
So along the same vein, they require authorization of all marshals every year. So you have a list of the current school marshals. We have a new marshal at James Elementary, Carroll Elementary, and Bunchbach Middle School this year.
I make a motion to.
Well, sorry, actually, Clark moved to Bunchbach, and the new one's at Clark. Thank you, Brent.
I'll make a motion to authorize school marshals as presented.
Motion from Mr. Kelly. Second from Mr. Campbell. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 17, executive session. We'll now enter executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Do I got a motion? Got a motion from Mr. Campbell,
I'll second.
second from Ms. Washington. All those in favor? Motion passes.
What time?
9:21.
May I dismiss staff, please?
Yes, sir.
Go home. Thank you.
Let's talk to somebody.
Hey, just a reminder, Cindy has her interview for the TASB Board of Directors next Friday.
So y'all pray, would you?
Be nice to have that representation.
All right, we'll move on to executive session. 9:56. Move on to item number 18, consider and take action on matters addressed in executive session. You were given direction.
So I just need a motion for that. No, just one.
I'll make a motion to give Mr. McIntyre the ability to negotiate as discussed in the executive session.
I second.
Motion from Mr. Kelly, second from Ms. Darling. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes. With nothing left on the agenda, we will adjourn.
Good night, everybody.
Night. Yep. Don't forget your training.